It started as a rumor on conspiracy forums. A strange radio frequency, dubbed the Black Signal, could be picked up at exactly 3:03 a.m. on shortwave radios. Those who tuned in claimed to hear a distorted voice delivering cryptic messages, coordinates, or chilling warnings like, "They are watching." Jake, a self-proclaimed conspiracy enthusiast, decided to investigate. He dusted off an old radio, set his alarm for 3 a.m., and tuned in. At first, there was only static. Faintly, a voice emerged, crackling and disjointed. "Do not look outside," it said. Jake froze, heart pounding. Against his better judgment, he glanced at the window. A dark figure stood motionless in the yard, its outline barely visible in the moonlight. The next night, curiosity overtook fear. He tuned in again. This time, the voice whispered coordinates, his exact location. "Leave now," it added. By the third night, the voice grew clearer. "They know you're listening," it hissed. The lights in Jake's house flickered and his phone vibrated. A text appeared. "Stop." Terrified, Jake unplugged the radio and smashed it, but the signal didn't stop. His TV flickered on, displaying static, and the voice returned, louder than ever. "You can't run." The next morning, Jake was gone. His house was empty, save for a single unmarked radio sitting on the table, still tuned to the Black Signal. The forums went silent after that, but some claim the signal still broadcasts, waiting for its next listener.
What if I told you there's a forest so haunted, locals won't set foot in it after dark? Deep in Romania lies the Hoia Baciu Forest, often called the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania. Known for its twisted trees and eerie silence, the forest is home to countless tales of disappearances, ghostly apparitions, and unexplainable phenomena. Legend has it that a shepherd once entered the forest with 200 sheep, and none of them were ever seen again. Another story speaks of a little girl who vanished, only to reappear years later, unchanged and with no memory of where she'd been. People report feeling watched, sudden nausea, and even strange lights floating between the trees. And then there's the forest's infamous clearing, a perfect circle where nothing grows, said to be a portal to another dimension. Paranormal investigators have recorded bizarre energy readings here, but no one can explain why it exists. Would you dare to enter this forest of nightmares? Subscribe for more spine-chilling tales from around the world.
It started with a strange notification. People would receive a message on their phone that simply said, "You've been scheduled." No sender, no details, just a date and time. Emma got hers at midnight. The notification appeared even though her phone was on airplane mode. "You've been scheduled, 3 a.m. tomorrow." She tried deleting it, but it wouldn't go away. By morning, rumors online revealed others had received the same message. Theories ranged from a viral prank to hackers, but one thing stood out. No one who reached their scheduled time was ever heard from again. Emma stayed awake that night, every light on, clutching her phone. At exactly 3 a.m., the lights flickered, and her phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a live feed of her own living room. In the video, a figure stood behind her. Emma spun around, but the room was empty. The screen now displayed a countdown. Panicked, she tried to call for help, but her phone was locked to the timer. The figure reappeared on the screen, closer now, its face blurred but its intent clear. The countdown hit 0. The screen went black. The next day, Emma's apartment was silent. Her phone lay on the floor, the notification still glowing. "You've been scheduled." Conspiracy theorists claim the notifications are part of a sinister AI experiment or a ritualistic purge, but no one knows who or what is behind it. All they know is when the message comes, you can't escape your appointment. It started with sudden blackouts. Entire neighborhoods plunged into darkness, always at 3 a.m., lasting exactly 13 minutes. When the power returned, residents reported the same thing. Their TVs and radios turned on, broadcasting a faint signal. The broadcast was eerie, distorted voices, static, and a faint, rhythmic tapping. Those who listened too closely swore they heard their own names whispered. Maya, a night owl, decided to investigate. When the blackout hit her street, she lit a candle and turned on her radio. The static came first, then the voices, faint and overlapping. She froze when she heard her name, spoken in her own voice. Suddenly, the tapping grew louder, more deliberate, as if someone or something was inside her house. She grabbed her flashlight and followed the sound to her living room. Her TV had turned on, showing a live feed of her standing there, holding the flashlight. Then the screen flickered, and a shadow appeared behind her in the broadcast. Maya spun around, but the room was empty. The voice from the TV whispered, "You've been chosen." When the power returned, Maya was gone. Her house was left undisturbed, except for the TV, which played static on an endless loop. Conspiracy theorists claim the blackouts are tests for a larger event, a way to identify and take targets. But those who disappear never return, and the broadcasts continue, whispering new names into the night. Flight 717 was a routine red-eye from Chicago to Denver. It was a clear night, and passengers settled in for the short flight. But 45 minutes in, the plane abruptly disappeared from radar. No distress signal, no debris, just gone. The official report blamed a freak electrical malfunction, but conspiracy theorists had other ideas. Some claimed the plane was hijacked by shadowy government forces. Others believed it entered a time slip, or was abducted by something not of this world. Months later, strange reports surfaced. A farmer in Nebraska claimed to see a plane hovering silently in the sky before vanishing. Hikers in Colorado found a field littered with charred airline seats, but no sign of passengers. Then, nearly a year to the day after its disappearance, Flight 717 reappeared. Air traffic controllers in Denver were stunned when the plane landed on an empty runway, its lights flickering. But there was no one on board. The seats were intact, luggage still stowed, and the cockpit was empty. Investigators found only one clue. The plane's black box recorded hours of static, interrupted by a single chilling phrase whispered over and over, "They took us." The plane was quietly dismantled, and officials dismissed the incident as a hoax. But late at night, conspiracy forums buzz with theories. Some say Flight 717 never landed at all, that what returned wasn't the same plane. Others claim to hear faint whispers when passing near the Denver airport, as if the passengers are still calling for help. Clara always closed her curtains before bed, but lately she'd wake to find them slightly open. Her neighbors began mentioning seeing her standing at the window late at night, staring out. "You were just watching," her friend said one morning. "I waved, but you didn't move." Clara laughed nervously. "I was asleep." One night, she stayed awake, determined to catch whatever was happening. At 3 a.m., a faint tapping came from the window. Heart pounding, Clara turned to see a figure standing outside, her own face staring back at her. The shadow smiled and tapped again, its movements jerky and unnatural. "Let me in," it mouthed. Clara backed away, grabbing her phone, but when she looked again, the figure was inside, standing by the window. It moved toward her, its steps perfectly mirroring hers. "You've been living my life," it whispered. "Now it's my turn." Before Clara could scream, the shadow lunged. The next morning, Clara greeted her neighbors with a cheerful smile. But at night, behind the closed curtains, her reflection pressed its hands against the glass, its face twisted in silent, desperate terror.
What if all you know about the Conjuring House was a lie? Originating from real-life events in the 1970s, this infamous location is steeped in horror. The Perron family who moved in experienced unexplained phenomena, whispers, cold spots, and ghostly apparitions. Ed and Lorraine Warren, renowned paranormal investigators, were called to help. They claimed the house was haunted by a witch named Bathsheba Sherman, who once lived there and cursed anyone who dared to take her land. The family's terrifying encounters inspired chilling tales, blurring reality and fiction. Are the Warrens' claims fabricated? Or is something sinister lurking within those walls? Subscribe for more eerie stories.
Jason always dismissed the weird looks people gave him. "You were just here," strangers would say, but Jason would laugh it off. How could he be in two places at once? Then his girlfriend, Emma, started acting distant. "You've been so cold lately," she said one night. Jason was confused. He hadn't seen her all day. Things got worse when he walked into his apartment and heard laughter coming from the living room. He froze. Emma was there, sitting on the couch, talking to someone. It was him. The other Jason turned to look at him, smiling in a way that sent chills down his spine. "You're not supposed to be here," it said, its voice too smooth, too perfect. Jason backed away, but Emma stared at him in confusion. "Jason, what's wrong?" she asked, looking between the two of them. The other Jason stood, its movements unnervingly fluid. "I'm the better version," it said. "You've had your chance." Before Jason could react, the double lunged. When the police arrived hours later, Emma insisted there was only one Jason. But every time he passed a mirror, his reflection stared back with wide, terrified eyes, silently begging for help.
Fans of the beloved 1990s children's show Sunny Friends Club claim a lost episode aired only once before vanishing. Known for its cheerful tone and colorful characters, this episode was different, darker, unsettling, and impossible to find. Rumors spread on forums. Viewers remembered an episode where the characters behaved strangely. The animation was off, the colors muted, and the music warped. Instead of the usual playful antics, the characters wandered aimlessly, mumbling incoherent phrases. The episode ended with the main character staring directly at the screen, their eyes unnaturally wide. A low, droning sound played as they whispered, "We're not safe. Neither are you." Then the screen cut to static. Network executives denied the episode existed, but scattered accounts persisted. Some claimed they felt ill after watching it, plagued by nightmares and paranoia. Others swore they saw symbols flash on the screen, as if hiding a secret message. One former network employee anonymously claimed the episode was a test for subliminal messaging in a government experiment. It was allegedly pulled after its first airing, but not before affecting those who saw it. To this day, no recordings have surfaced. Fans searching for it report strange occurrences, files corrupting, devices crashing, and brief flickers of the main character's face staring lifelessly. Was it a hoax, a cover-up, or something more sinister? All that remains is the whispered name, Sunny Friends Club.
Evan, an IT technician for a government contractor, stumbled upon a hidden folder labeled Project Erebos while fixing a server glitch. Inside were redacted documents, blurry photos, and one video file. It showed a figure strapped to a chair, screaming with a voice off camera asking, "Have you seen the eyes?" Suddenly, his computer froze, and a message flashed, "This file is not for you." The next day, his badge stopped working, and coworkers avoided him. That night, Evan received a call from a distorted voice. "Delete everything. They're watching." Evan wiped his computer, but it was too late. Black SUVs parked near his house, and strangers stared at him in public. His accounts were frozen. One night, he found his laptop on with the Project Erebos folder open. A new file titled Evan appeared. He clicked it. It was a live feed of his bedroom. Behind him, the closet door creaked open. The next morning, Evan was gone. His apartment was empty, and his digital footprint erased. Conspiracy theorists say Project Erebos is a secret psychological experiment, but no one who finds the file ever survives. It started with an email. Amanda, a freelance journalist, received a message with no sender, just the subject line. "Do you want to know the truth?" Curious, she opened it. Inside was a link and a single phrase: "The Shadow Network is real." The link led to a dark website filled with grainy videos, leaked documents, and cryptic symbols. It claimed that a secret organization controlled everything: governments, corporations, even disasters. The deeper Amanda dove, the more unnerving it became. Names of missing people appeared in files, all listed under the ominous term, erased. Soon, strange things started happening. Her phone would light up with unknown numbers that hung up as soon as she answered. She noticed black SUVs parked near her apartment. One night, her laptop turned on by itself, the screen flashing the words, "Stop digging." But Amanda didn't stop. She downloaded files that hinted at experiments in mind control, weather manipulation, and mass surveillance. One document claimed, "The Shadow Network sees all. Once you've found them, they've already found you." The final straw came when she returned home to find her apartment ransacked. Her laptop and files were gone, but a single note was left on her desk: "You've been warned." Amanda tried to go public, but no one believed her. Her story was buried, her accounts frozen, her life dismantled piece by piece. One day, she vanished entirely. Conspiracy theorists now whisper about the Shadow Network and warn others. If you look for them, they'll make sure no one ever finds you. Deep in the Sahara Desert, a blurry satellite image surfaced online, a massive, black pyramid buried beneath the sand. It wasn't on any map, and official records denied its existence. But conspiracy theorists were certain this was no ordinary structure. A group of explorers set out to find it, live streaming their journey. Days passed with nothing but endless dunes. Then the feed went silent. Hours later, it resumed briefly, showing a massive, obsidian-like pyramid rising from the sand, its surface smooth and impossibly dark. The camera panned shakily as the team entered. Inside, the walls were covered in strange symbols, glowing faintly. The explorers whispered nervously, describing a low hum that seemed to vibrate in their bones. One of them pointed out that their GPS had stopped working. Suddenly, the stream cut to black. No one heard from the team again. Days later, the video vanished from the internet, along with any mention of the pyramid. Those who shared it reported strange knocks at their doors late at night, or their devices mysteriously wiped clean. Some believe the pyramid is an ancient alien structure. Others say it's a government experiment buried in secrecy. But those who look for it often disappear, leaving only one chilling warning behind. Don't go near the Black Pyramid. It doesn't want to be found.
What if I told you that a tiny island off the coast of Australia might hold the key to one of the world's most bizarre disappearances? In 1930, the famous Australian explorer, Frederick Valentich, vanished without a trace while flying over the Bass Strait. The last thing he told air traffic control was that he was being followed by a strange, unidentified flying object. Valentich's plane was never found, and neither was he. But what makes this case even more eerie is the strange radio transmission he sent just before disappearing, describing a craft that seemed to match no known aircraft. Some believe he encountered extraterrestrial life, while others think he met a more earthly fate. To this day, the mystery of Frederick Valentich's disappearance remains unsolved, with some believing the truth is out there. Hit subscribe for more mysterious tales of the unexplained and the unknown. In Zanzibar, a fearsome entity known as Popobawa prowls the night, a shape-shifting demon rumored to attack unsuspecting victims in their sleep. The legend traces back to the 1960s, with reports of its terrifying presence making headlines. Witnesses claim Popobawa can transform into different forms, often described as a bat-like creature. Those who encounter it are left paralyzed with fear, experiencing a suffocating weight on their chests. Some believe it was born from dark magic or ancestral spirits, while others suggest it preys on the guilty. The Popobawa legend has inspired tales of terror, leading to mass hysteria and real-world violence. Dare to explore the dark? Subscribe for more chilling stories. Deep in the heart of Australia's dense eucalyptus forests, an ancient predator waits in silence. The Yarra-Mayahu, a creature from Aboriginal folklore. Unlike traditional monsters, it needs no weapons. Small and red-skinned, with an oversized head and bulbous eyes, its most unnerving feature is its hands and feet, tipped with sucker-like pads. The Yarra-Mayahu hunts during the day, perched in the branches of fig trees. It doesn't attack like a beast, but waits patiently for an unsuspecting traveler to rest beneath its tree. Without a sound, it drops down, latching onto its victim and draining their strength through its suckers. But the horror doesn't end there. Legend says the Yarra-Mayahu, who swallows its prey whole, only to regurgitate them moments later. The victim emerges disoriented and changed, shorter, redder, and less human with each encounter. Those who fall prey multiple times are said to transform entirely, becoming Yarra-Mayahu themselves, forever cursed to haunt the forests. Explorers have told of sudden feelings of dread under fig trees, their energy inexplicably sapped. Some claim to have seen strange, red-skinned figures lurking just out of sight. Whether real or imagined, the warning remains. If you venture into the outback, never rest under the shadow of a fig tree. The Yarra-Mayahu is always watching, and it's always hungry. What if I told you the word abracadabra wasn't just a magician's trick, but an ancient spell tied to forces we barely understand? A word whispered through centuries, carrying a power both feared and revered. Its origins are cloaked in mystery. Some believe it comes from the Aramaic phrase, "I create as I speak," spoken to invoke creation or destruction. Others link it to Abraxas, a name tied to ancient demons and forbidden secrets. In the 2nd century, Roman healers used it in rituals to banish sickness. They wrote it in a triangular pattern, the letters vanishing line by line, as if erasing a curse, or calling something darker into being. But what if abracadabra was never meant for healing? What if its true purpose was to summon forces lurking in the shadows, waiting to answer when we speak its name? If this sends chills down your spine, subscribe now and join us as we explore more tales of the unknown. What if I told you about the black-eyed children, a mysterious and terrifying phenomenon that has been reported around the world? Imagine this. It's late at night, and there's an unexpected knock at your door. You peek outside and see two children standing there, their heads slightly lowered. They speak softly, asking to come in, maybe to use your phone or wait for a ride. At first, they seem ordinary, but something feels deeply wrong. Then you notice their eyes, completely black. No whites, no pupils, just endless voids staring back at you. Witnesses describe feeling a chilling, unexplainable fear in their presence. The children are eerily calm, but their persistence is unsettling, almost hypnotic. Legends warn that letting them in could bring catastrophe, though the true consequences remain unknown. No one knows where they come from or what they are. Spirits? Aliens? Demons? Their existence defies explanation, and their intentions remain a sinister mystery. So, if you ever hear a knock at night and see a pair of black, soulless eyes on the other side, remember, some doors are better left unopened. Subscribe for more haunting tales.
La Llorona, or the Weeping Woman, is a haunting figure in Latin American folklore, particularly in Mexico. Her tale begins with a beautiful woman named Maria, who fell in love with a wealthy man. After giving birth to 2 children, he abandoned her, leading to her madness. In a fit of rage and despair, she drowned her children in a river, only to realize her tragic mistake moments later. Consumed by grief, she took her own life. Legends say her spirit roams rivers and lakes, weeping for her lost children, luring the unsuspecting to their doom. Variations of the story exist, often warning children to avoid the water at night, fearing the sorrowful wails of La Llorona, a reminder of lost love and regret. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. The chupacabra, a fearsome creature, first emerged in Puerto Rico in the 1990s, where it was blamed for the mysterious deaths of livestock, particularly goats. Eyewitness accounts describe it as a reptilian beast with sharp fangs and glowing eyes. Various reports from Mexico and the United States highlight its ability to drain the blood of animals, leaving behind lifeless bodies. Over the years, many interpretations of the legend have surfaced, from a government experiment gone wrong to an alien creature. Sightings and eerie noises in the night keep the legend alive, making the chupacabra a symbol of fear and fascination in Latin American folklore. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.
In the summer of 1876, a series of brutal murders rocked St. John's Wood, a quiet suburb of London. The victims, all women, were found in their homes, each showing signs of violent struggle. The police were baffled, as the killer left no clues. Panic swept through the neighborhood, and residents began to fear the dark shadows creeping in their streets. Victims included a young servant girl and an elderly widow, heightening the horror of the attacks. The relentless media coverage turned the case into a public spectacle, with sensational tales capturing the imagination of the public. Despite extensive investigations, the identity of the killer remained shrouded in mystery, leaving an indelible mark on London's dark history. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, please consider subscribing. Your support really helps me create more videos and share interesting stories. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching.
The chupacabra, a fearsome creature, first emerged in Puerto Rico in the 1990s, where it was blamed for the mysterious deaths of livestock, particularly goats. Eyewitness accounts describe it as a reptilian beast with sharp fangs and glowing eyes. Various reports from Mexico and the United States highlight its ability to drain the blood of animals, leaving behind lifeless bodies. Over the years, many interpretations of the legend have surfaced, From a government experiment gone wrong to an alien creature, sightings and eerie noises in the night keep the legend alive, making the chupacabra a symbol of fear and fascination in Latin American folklore. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. La Llorona, or the Weeping Woman, is a haunting figure in Latin American folklore, particularly in Mexico. Her tale begins with a beautiful woman named Maria, who fell in love with a wealthy man. After giving birth to 2 children, he abandoned her, leading to her madness. In a fit of rage and despair, she drowned her children in a river, only to realize her tragic mistake moments later. Consumed by grief, she took her own life. Legends say her spirit roams rivers and lakes, weeping for her lost children, luring the unsuspecting to their doom. Variations of the story exist, often warning children to avoid the water at night, fearing the sorrowful wails of La Llorona, a reminder of lost love and regret. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.
Emma loved exploring her new home, especially the attic. One night, while her parents slept, she heard soft whispers from above. Intrigued, she grabbed her flashlight and climbed the creaky stairs. The air was thick and cold, sending shivers down her spine. As she reached the top, the whispers grew louder, a cacophony of hushed voices calling her name. "Emma, come play." The beam of her flashlight flickered, revealing a dusty old mirror, its surface smeared and cracked. Suddenly, the whispering stopped. Emma leaned closer, entranced. In the reflection, shadows loomed behind her, grinning. She turned, but nothing was there. The next morning, her parents found only the mirror, and Emma was gone, forever trapped in the whispers. The Wendigo is a legendary creature from Algonquin folklore, symbolizing the dangers of greed and cannibalism. Originating from the cold forests of Canada, it is depicted as a gaunt, emaciated figure with an insatiable hunger for human flesh. The legend tells of individuals who, in times of famine, resorted to cannibalism, ultimately transforming into a Wendigo. Over the years, various accounts have emerged, painting the Wendigo as a cautionary tale against selfishness and moral decay. Real-life occurrences of mysterious disappearances in the wilderness have fueled the legend's chilling aura, leaving an indelible mark on both indigenous culture and modern horror narratives. Emma loved exploring her new home, especially the attic. One night, while her parents slept, she heard soft whispers from above. Intrigued, she grabbed her flashlight and climbed the creaky stairs. The air was thick and cold, sending shivers down her spine. As she reached the top, the whispers grew louder, a cacophony of hushed voices calling her name. "Emma, come play." The beam of her flashlight flickered, revealing a dusty old mirror, its surface smeared and cracked. Suddenly, the whispering stopped. Emma leaned closer, entranced. In the reflection, shadows loomed behind her, grinning. She turned, but nothing was there. The next morning, her parents found only the mirror, and Emma was gone, forever trapped in the whispers. Emma loved exploring her new home, especially the attic. One night, while her parents slept, she heard soft whispers from above. Intrigued, she grabbed her flashlight and climbed the creaky stairs. The air was thick and cold, sending shivers down her spine. As she reached the top, the whispers grew louder, a cacophony of hushed voices calling her name. "Emma, come play." The beam of her flashlight flickered, revealing a dusty old mirror, its surface smeared and cracked. Suddenly, the whispering stopped. Emma leaned closer, entranced. In the reflection, shadows loomed behind her, grinning. She turned, but nothing was there. The next morning, her parents found only the mirror, and Emma was gone, forever trapped in the whispers. In the heart of the Whispering Woods, locals speak of strange occurrences. It began with the disappearance of a hiker, a young woman named Clara, who ventured into the forest seeking solitude. Days later, her belongings were found scattered beneath an ancient oak, the air thick with an unsettling silence. Those who approached the tree reported hearing whispers, as if the woods themselves were alive, sharing secrets. Inspired by real events from 1960s rural folklore, the whispers grew louder, drawing unsuspecting visitors. Some claimed to see shadows flitting between trees, while others felt unseen hands brush against them, urging them deeper into the darkness. The Whispering Woods became a place of dread, where curiosity turned to terror. In a dusty attic, a forgotten dollhouse stands eerily still. Each room reflects the lives of the family that once inhabited it, yet whispers of tragedy linger in the air. The dollhouse belonged to the Thompson family, whose tragic fate remains shrouded in mystery. Neighbors spoke of strange noises and shadows flickering at night. One evening, a fire consumed their home, leaving only this dollhouse intact. Local legends say it's a vessel for their restless spirits. Visitors claim to hear faint cries from its tiny rooms and feel a chill when peering through its windows. The dolls, eerily lifelike, seem to watch every move. What secrets do they conceal, waiting for someone brave enough to uncover the truth? Waverly Hills Sanatorium, once a refuge for tuberculosis patients, now looms abandoned, cloaked in mystery. Built in 1910, it became notorious for its gruesome treatments and high mortality rates. Many patients reportedly roamed the halls, desperate for relief. Folklore speaks of Room 502, where a nurse allegedly took her own life, her spirit forever trapped, luring curious souls. Visitors recount chilling encounters, whispers, shadows darting in the corners, and the sense of being watched. The infamous body chute served as a dark passageway, further deepening the macabre aura. Today, Waverly Hills stands as a chilling reminder of suffering, beckoning ghost hunters and thrill seekers alike into its haunted embrace. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. In the 1980s, a series of devastating house fires in the UK sparked a chilling legend, the Crying Boy painting. This artwork, depicting a sorrowful boy, was said to bring misfortune to its owners. As flames consumed homes, investigators noticed a disturbing pattern. Most of the victims owned a copy of this painting. Tales emerged of the painting's origins. It was created by the artist Giovanni Bragolin, who, legend claims, was inspired by a tragic story of a boy orphaned by a fire. As the fires spread, unsettling stories of the painting's curse grew, leading to public outcry. People began to destroy or rid themselves of the paintings, hoping to escape the chilling grip of this haunted artwork. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. In 1922, the Hinterkaifeck murders stunned Germany. The Gruber family, consisting of Andreas, his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, son Josef, and the maid Maria, were brutally killed in their isolated farmhouse. Days before the murders, Andreas discovered strange footprints in the snow leading to the house but found no signs of anyone. The family reported eerie sounds and a mysterious stranger lurking nearby. On the night of the murders, the farm remained eerily quiet, but the horrific aftermath revealed gruesome details. The perpetrator was never found, and theories erupted, ranging from family disputes to a vengeful spirit. The case remains one of Germany's most perplexing and chilling mysteries. Poveglia Island, a small landmass in the Venetian lagoon, holds a sinister reputation. From the 14th century, it served as a quarantine station for plague victims, with many meeting a gruesome end. The island transformed into a mental asylum in the late 19th century, where cruel experiments were conducted. Patients often reported sightings of dark figures and heard eerie voices. After its closure in the 1960s, the island became abandoned, shrouded in legends of restless spirits. Locals claim that the soil is infused with the ashes of the dead. Today, Poveglia stands as a chilling reminder of human suffering, attracting thrill seekers and ghost hunters alike who seek to uncover its dark past. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. La Llorona, or the Weeping Woman, is a haunting figure in Latin American folklore. Originating in Mexico, her story varies across regions, but the essence remains the same: a sorrowful woman who lost her children. According to legend, she drowned them in a fit of rage and, overcome by grief, now wanders rivers and lakes, crying for them. This tale serves as a cautionary warning to children about the dangers of straying too close to water. Some accounts suggest that La Llorona was once a beautiful woman named Maria who fell in love with a wealthy man. When he abandoned her, She sought revenge, leading to her tragic fate. Her mournful wails echo through the night, chilling anyone who dares to listen. Poveglia Island, a small landmass in the Venetian lagoon, holds a sinister reputation. From the 14th century, it served as a quarantine station for plague victims, with many meeting a gruesome end. The island transformed into a mental asylum in the late 19th century, where cruel experiments were conducted. Patients often reported sightings of dark figures and heard eerie voices. After its closure in the 1960s, the island became abandoned, shrouded in legends of restless spirits. Locals claim that the soil is infused with the ashes of the dead. Today, Poveglia stands as a chilling reminder of human suffering, attracting thrill seekers and ghost hunters alike who seek to uncover its dark past. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.
In Japan, whispers of Kuchisake Onna, the slit-mouthed woman, haunt the night. Originating in the Edo period, this vengeful spirit is said to wear a surgical mask, concealing a horrifying secret. Her mouth is slit from ear to ear. Legend claims she was a beautiful woman, betrayed by her husband, who mutilated her in a fit of rage. Now she roams city streets, asking victims if she's beautiful. If they answer truthfully, she reveals her disfigurement and asks, "How about now?" The terrified response often leads to a gruesome fate. This eerie tale has inspired countless stories and urban legends, blurring the line between reality and myth. Subscribe for more chilling tales.
In the depths of winter, Yuki Onna, the snow woman, emerges from the swirling snowstorms of Japan. This ethereal figure, draped in white, is said to lure weary travelers with her beauty and icy charm. Legends claim she was once a young woman who perished in a blizzard, transformed into a vengeful spirit. Her victims, entranced by her allure, are led to frozen graves, their breath visible in the frigid air. Variations of the tale exist, some depicting her as a benevolent spirit who saves children from the cold. However, the chilling essence remains. Encountering Yuki Onna often signifies doom. Dare to tread carefully in her snowy realm, and remember, the cold may not be the only danger lurking. Subscribe for more eerie tales. In Korea, the legend of Cheonyo Gaksi, or the ghostly bride, sends shivers through the spines of young men. It is said that she appears on rainy nights, dressed in a white wedding gown, her face obscured by a veil. Originating from a tale of a jilted bride who died tragically on her wedding day, she now haunts the living with her sorrowful wails. Victims describe her voice as enchanting, compelling them to follow her into the darkness. Some variations suggest she seeks revenge, while others portray her as a tragic figure yearning for love. Real encounters have been reported, where men vanish after seeing her. Beware the whispers of the night, for Cheonyo Gaksi's allure can be deadly. Subscribe for more chilling tales. In the dense forests of Rajasthan, India, the legend of Churel Ki Dulhan, or the Bride of the Churel, stirs fear among villagers. They say that on moonless nights, a ghostly woman appears along the winding village paths, dressed in an ornate red bridal lehenga. Her face is hidden by a thick veil, and she floats just above the ground, her anklets chiming in the silent night. According to the story, she was a bride abandoned on her wedding night. Betrayed and heartbroken, she wandered into the forest, never to return. Now, she haunts those same paths, seeking the companionship that was denied to her in life. Travelers and villagers tell of encountering her. Her voice is soft, almost musical, luring them into the forest. If someone follows, it's said they become enchanted, wandering deeper and deeper until they disappear, never to be seen again. Some say the Churail Ki Dulhan is merely a tragic figure, lonely and searching for solace. But others warn that she is vengeful, taking men into the forest to suffer the same fate she endured. True or not, villagers still avoid the forest paths on dark nights, wary of the bride's mournful call. Beware of the haunting allure of the Churail Ki Dulhan, for her sorrow could turn deadly. Subscribe for more chilling tales from India and beyond. In the quiet villages of Karnataka, India, the haunting legend of Na Aleba, or the night visitor, sends shivers through the community. According to the tale, a vengeful spirit roams the streets at night, knocking on doors and calling out in familiar voices, often sounding like a friend or family member. Her goal? To lure people out of their homes. But those who answer her call are never seen again. Locals believe Naleba is the restless spirit of a bride who suffered betrayal, cursed to wander the villages forever, searching for companionship or revenge. To protect themselves, villagers began writing Naleba on their doors, Canada for come tomorrow, hoping to confuse her, tricking her into leaving them alone for just one more night. The story of Naleba has become a powerful part of Karnataka's folklore, inspiring cautionary traditions and even influencing popular culture. While some dismiss it as a myth, many still heed the warning, locking their doors tightly and avoiding the whispers of the night. Beware the knocks after dark, for it might just be Naleba, the night visitor. Subscribe for more eerie legends and mysteries. In the small village of Lalapur, India, a legend whispers through the trees, the tale of the Chudale, a ghostly woman in white. Many believe she was once a devoted wife, wronged and betrayed, who perished under mysterious circumstances. Her spirit, consumed by rage, now roams the night, luring men with her beauty before revealing her true, horrifying form. Locals claim to hear her mournful wails echoing through the dark, often followed by eerie silence. Variations of the tale suggest she seeks revenge on unfaithful husbands. Some villagers recount chilling encounters, claiming she appears at dusk, her long hair billowing, eyes glowing with vengeance. Beware the Chudale, her sorrow may cost you your soul. Subscribe for more haunting tales. In East Anglia, the legend of Black Shuck looms large. This ghostly hound, known for its massive size and glowing eyes, is said to roam the countryside, bringing terror to those who encounter it. Originating in the 12th century, tales of Shuck often describe it appearing near churches and graveyards, signaling doom. Variants of the legend claim that seeing the hound foretells death or disaster. Some believe it is a manifestation of lost souls, while others think it is a guardian of the dead. Eyewitness accounts describe a chilling presence, sometimes accompanied by a deep growl. Black Shuck remains a haunting symbol of fear and mystery in English folklore. Subscribe for more chilling tales. The Banshee, a spectral figure from Irish folklore, is known as a harbinger of death. Traditionally depicted as a woman in white or gray, her mournful wail signals the impending demise of a family member. The legend has origins that trace back to ancient Celtic beliefs, where she was seen as a fairy or goddess of death. Variations abound. Some say she appears as a beautiful maiden, others as a haggard old woman. Reports of real encounters have surfaced over centuries, often linked to tragic events. People claim to have heard her chilling cries, foretelling their loved one's passing. The Banshee remains a potent symbol of sorrow in Irish culture. Subscribe for more chilling tales. Aokigahara, known as Japan's suicide forest, lies at the foot of Mount Fuji, a place both serene and eerie. This dense woodland is steeped in legends of yurei, or restless spirits, believed to wander among the trees. The forest's haunting allure has led many to seek solace in its depths, but the silence conceals a darker truth. Originating in the 19th century, tales of despair intertwined with folklore, leading to its grim association. Some say the spirits of those lost to despair linger, whispering to wanderers, drawing them deeper. Real events, like the alarming number of suicides, only add to its chilling reputation. Dare to tread the path, but beware the darkness that pursues. Subscribe for more eerie tales. In the dense jungles of Southeast Asia, the legend of the Pontianak haunts the night. This vengeful spirit, believed to be the restless soul of a woman who died during childbirth, emerges under the moonlight, seeking revenge on unsuspecting men. Her disheveled hair covers a pale face, and her wails echo through the trees, signaling her presence. Stories tell of men disappearing after crossing her path, their screams swallowed by the darkness. Variations of the legend speak of her enticing victims with beauty before revealing her true form. Some say she can be appeased, but others urge caution. Beware the night, for the Pontianak is ever watchful. Subscribe for more chilling tales. In Korean folklore, the gumiho is a nine-tailed fox spirit, a shapeshifter known for its beauty and cunning. Originating from ancient tales, this creature is said to transform into a stunning woman to lure unsuspecting men. However, beneath its alluring exterior lies a dark hunger. The gumiho craves human hearts to sustain its existence. Variations of the legend exist, with some depicting the gumiho as a tragic figure, cursed to roam the earth for eternity. Real events, such as unexplained disappearances near remote villages, have fueled the myth. The gumiho's story serves as a haunting reminder of desire and deception. Subscribe for more chilling legends from around the world. In the heart of Asia lies the Whispering Woods, a forest steeped in chilling legends. Locals tell of ancient spirits that wander the trees, whispering secrets to lure unsuspecting travelers. Originating from stories passed down through generations, these woods have become a cautionary tale for those who dare to enter after dusk. Many speak of hearing their names called softly, drawing them deeper into the shadows. Variations of the tale suggest that those who heed the whispers may never return. Some believe real events inspired these tales, with missing persons linked to the cursed woods. As night falls, silence envelops the forest, leaving only the haunting whispers. Subscribe for more chilling tales.
If you're a fan of the spooky and mysterious, you need to hear these 5 creepy superstitions from around the world. In Russia, whistling indoors is a no-no. They believe it invites evil spirits and financial ruin. Moving to Japan, don't stick your chopsticks upright in rice. It's a bad omen, resembling incense at funerals. Ever heard of the evil eye? In Middle Eastern cultures, this glare can curse you with bad luck. Protect yourself with a blue talisman called a nazar. In Spain, Tuesday the 13th is their unlucky day. They say on a Tuesday don't get married or embark on a journey. And finally in Mexico, sweeping someone's feet means they'll never get married. So, be careful with that broom. Superstitions might seem silly, but they're a fascinating peek into cultural fears and beliefs. What superstitions do you follow? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this eerie journey, hit the like button and subscribe for more.
In the shadowy waters of the Philippine seas, the legend of the sirena haunts fishermen and sailors alike. This enchanting siren, often depicted as a beautiful woman with the tail of a fish, is said to lure men with her mesmerizing voice. Originating from local folklore, tales of the sirena vary. Some say she was a mortal woman heartbroken by a sailor, cursed to seek vengeance. Others claim she protects the sea, luring greedy fishermen to their demise. Real-life accounts of missing boats and drowned sailors have fueled these chilling stories. The siren's call is irresistible, echoing through the waves, a reminder that some treasures come at a deadly price. Subscribe for more tales of terror. In the dark jungles of Malaysia, the legend of the Orang Minyak, or Oily Man, sends shivers down spines. This spectral figure, covered in thick black oil, is said to emerge at night, preying on unsuspecting women. Originating from tales of a cursed man, the Orang Minyak is believed to have been a Malay who, after being rejected, turned to dark magic for revenge. Variations of the story depict him as a tortured soul, forever trapped between the living and the dead. Real-life accounts include mysterious disappearances linked to sightings of this eerie figure. As the night falls, remember, the Orang Minyak may be lurking just beyond the shadows. Subscribe for more chilling tales. Maria was home alone, scrolling through her phone late at night when she got a text from her mom. "I'm almost home. Don't forget to lock the doors." Her stomach dropped. Her mom was already home. Maria had said goodnight to her hours ago and watched her walk into her bedroom. Trying to calm herself, she replied, "What do you mean? You're already here." A few seconds later, another text came through. "No, I'm still at work. Who's in the house with you?" Maria's breath hitched. Her hands trembled as she slowly crept toward her mom's room. Her heart pounded with every step. She pressed her ear against the door but heard nothing. Gathering her courage, Maria turned the doorknob and peeked inside. The bed was empty. Her phone buzzed again. This time the message read, "Sweetheart, if you're in the house, don't go near it." Suddenly, the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps echoed down the hall behind her. And then, close, far too close, she heard a low whisper. "Why didn't you lock the doors, Maria?" In the shadowy waters of Japan's rivers lurks the kappa, a terrifying creature known for its green skin and turtle-like shell. Originating from ancient folklore, this river demon is said to lure unsuspecting victims to their doom. The kappa's most infamous trait? A dish filled with water atop its head, which holds its power. If it spills, it becomes weak. Tales warn of children disappearing near rivers, dragged into the abyss by this malevolent being. Some say the kappa steals souls for sustenance. Variations across regions depict it as both mischievous and deadly. Encountering a kappa is a chilling reminder to respect nature's depths. Subscribe for more chilling tales. The legend of the Pontianak, rooted in Malay folklore, tells of a vengeful spirit of a woman who died during childbirth. Her sorrow transforms her into a haunting figure, often described as a pale woman with long black hair and blood-red eyes. The Pontianak is known to lure men with her beautiful cries, only to reveal her true form when they approach. She seeks revenge on those who wronged her in life, often targeting unfaithful husbands. Variations of the tale exist across Indonesia and Malaysia, with some claiming she can be placated by burying a knife under her grave. Encounters with the Pontianak have left many terrified, warning us to tread carefully at night. Subscribe for more chilling stories. In the heart of Vietnam, whispered tales tell of the wailing woman of the river. Legend has it she was once a loving mother, tragically losing her child to the river's depths. Consumed by grief, she now roams the riverbanks, her mournful cries echoing through the night. Locals say her presence brings misfortune, and many have reported eerie sightings, a pale figure draped in white, searching desperately as the waters lap against the shore. Variations of her story abound. Some claim she lures children close, while others warn of her vengeful spirit. Those who hear her cries are urged to leave offerings, lest they become her next victims. Subscribe for more chilling tales from the shadows. In the dim alleys of an abandoned town, whispered stories speak of the cartoon cat, a grinning, otherworldly figure with long, elastic limbs and jet-black fur. Legend says this creature was born from forgotten animations, left to decay in the void between reels. Now it stalks the edges of reality, lurking in shadowy corners where no light can reach. Those who encounter Cartoon Cat describe its unsettling appearance. A distorted smile too wide for its face, hollow eyes that seem to pierce through you, and an eerie, static-filled laugh that sends shivers down the spine. Some say it preys on curiosity, luring victims with its cartoonish charm, before revealing its monstrous nature. Others believe it feeds on fear, growing stronger with every scream. The truth behind Cartoon Cat remains a mystery, but one thing is certain. When the world feels too quiet and the shadows stretch unnaturally long, beware. It might be closer than you think. Subscribe for more spine-chilling legends from the dark corners of imagination. In Irish folklore, the Dullahan is a terrifying figure, a headless horseman who rides a black steed, carrying his own head under one arm. This eerie specter is said to appear at night, signaling the imminent death of a person. The origins of the Dullahan are steeped in ancient Celtic beliefs about the supernatural. Variations of the legend describe him using a whip made from a human spine, and his head's hollow eye sockets glow with a ghastly light. Folklore tells of real events where the Dullahan's appearance heralded death, making him both a harbinger of doom and a terrifying figure in the shadows. His chilling presence still echoes in Irish culture today. Subscribe for more. Deep in the shadow of Mount Fuji lies Aokigahara, known as Japan's suicide forest. This dense woodland, rich with lush trees, is steeped in tragedy and despair. The legend dates back centuries, linked to the practice of ubasuti, where the elderly were abandoned. A haunting atmosphere permeates the forest, amplified by the sounds of eerie silence. Many have wandered its paths seeking solace, only to find their final resting place. Reports of ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena add to its chilling lore. Real-life events have drawn attention, with signs urging visitors to reconsider. Aokigahara remains a chilling reminder of grief and lost souls. Subscribe for more spine-tingling tales. Deep within the heart of Rajasthan's Thar Desert lies Kuldara, a ghostly village shrouded in mystery and sorrow. Abandoned overnight over 2 centuries ago, its crumbling ruins whisper tales of betrayal and vengeance. Legend has it that Kuldara was once a thriving settlement of the Palawal Brahmins, a prosperous community known for their wisdom and wealth. But prosperity came at a cost. A cruel and corrupt minister, Salim Singh, demanded an exorbitant tax and sought the hand of a village chief's daughter. Faced with his tyranny, the villagers chose a path of defiance. In the dead of night, they vanished without a trace, leaving behind homes, temples, and a chilling curse. No one would ever inhabit Kuldara again. To this day, locals report eerie sounds echoing through the ruins. Shadows seem to move in the moonlight, and visitors speak of an oppressive energy that lingers in the air. Despite repeated attempts to resettle the village, misfortune befalls anyone who dares. Kuldara stands as a haunting monument to despair and defiance, frozen in time. What truly happened that fateful night remains one of India's enduring mysteries. Subscribe for more haunting legends and untold secrets. In the deserts of the American Southwest, the legend of the Skinwalker strikes fear into the hearts of the Navajo people. Known as Yi Naldlushi, these malevolent shapeshifters are said to be witches who can transform into animals or mimic human voices. Originating from ancient Navajo traditions, Skinwalkers are believed to gain their powers through dark rituals, often involving the desecration of a loved one's grave. Reports of encounters tell of eerie sounds, shadowy figures, and sudden animal attacks. Some even claim to have seen them in their transformed state. Beware the chilling tales, for under the full moon, they may be lurking. Subscribe for more spine-tingling stories. In Japan, the legend of Teke Teke tells of a girl who met a gruesome fate, severed in half by a train. Her spirit, filled with rage and sorrow, became Teke Teke, a vengeful ghost. She haunts the urban landscapes, dragging her upper body, emitting a terrifying sound that echoes her name. Originating in the early 20th century, the tale has evolved through local retellings, often warning children to be cautious at night. Some claim Teke Teke seeks revenge on those who cross her path, appearing in school bathrooms or near train stations. Many believe the legend was inspired by real-life accidents, making her story all the more chilling. Subscribe for more spine-tingling tales. What if I told you that deep within Kenya lies a forest shrouded in mystery? The whispering forest of Kajabe is infamous for its ghostly voices that echo among the trees. Locals believe these whispers are the souls of those who perished tragically in the area. The origin of this haunting can be traced back to a devastating train accident in the early 1900s, where numerous lives were lost. As the story goes, on foggy nights, passers-by report hearing soft, mournful cries and pleading voices. Variations of the tale suggest that the whispers can lure unsuspecting travelers into the depths of the forest, leading them to disappear without a trace. Subscribe for more chilling stories that will keep you awake at night. What if I told you about the Abiku, a haunting presence in Yoruba mythology? These are the spirits of children who die young, only to return to the living. Legends say they are born to families destined for tragedy, coming and going as they please. Their return is often marked by strange occurrences and the scent of decay. Families, desperate to keep their children safe, have been known to perform rituals to bind these spirits. Variations of the tale exist, with some saying the Abiku is a trickster, luring others to their fate. Stories of real-life encounters add to the terror, leaving many to wonder about the true nature of these elusive spirits. Subscribe for more chilling tales. What if I told you about the Shaneks, mischievous spirits from the dense forests of Mexico? These elusive entities, rooted in the folklore of the Veracruz region, are said to protect the jungle from intruders. Legends claim that those who venture too deep into the forest without respect for nature may fall victim to the Shaneks, who lead them astray. The lost wanderers, confused and disoriented, might hear faint laughter or footsteps echoing in the distance, only to find themselves in the same spot they started, trapped in a loop. Some say these spirits can transform into animals, or even shadows, blending with the trees. Are you bold enough to face these crafty guardians of the wild? Subscribe for more eerie tales from the heart of the unknown. Did you know that a ghost once solved its own murder? In 1897, the Greenbrier ghost of West Virginia became a key figure in a chilling and extraordinary case. Elva Zona Heaster was found dead under mysterious circumstances, and her husband, Erasmus Shue, claimed it was a natural death. But Elva's mother, Mary Jane, had a different story. She said Elva's ghost appeared to her, revealing that Erasmus had strangled her in a fit of rage. This shocking revelation led to the exhumation of Elva's body, where an autopsy confirmed the ghost's claims. Erasmus was convicted of murder, making this one of the few cases where the supernatural helped bring justice. For more spine-chilling tales, hit subscribe and explore the mysteries of the unknown. What if I told you about the Tokoloshi, a notorious creature from South African folklore? This mischievous spirit is said to be a small, hairy humanoid, often described as having a huge head and glowing red eyes. Originating from Zulu mythology, the Tokoloshi is believed to crawl into the beds of unsuspecting victims, causing nightmares and sometimes even death. Its lore varies, with some tales saying it can be summoned by witches, or that it can be controlled with a wooden peg placed under the bed. In reality, the Tokoloshi reflects deep-seated fears in society, often intertwined with real events of unexplained misfortune. Could it be that the Tokoloshi truly lingers in the shadows? Subscribe for more haunting tales. From the depths of Scottish folklore emerges the Nuckalavee, a grotesque horse demon with a human torso, its skin a sickly shade. Originating from Orkney Islands, this creature is said to rise from the sea, leaving destruction in its wake. It is believed to be a harbinger of disease and famine, manifesting when crops fail. Legends vary. Some say it preys on livestock, while others claim it seeks vengeance on those who disrespect nature. The chilling accounts of villagers encountering it evoke a sense of dread, as its horrific visage and sulphurous breath haunt their nights. The Nuckalavee serves as a stark reminder of nature's fury and the ancient beliefs that still chill the heart. Subscribe for more eerie tales. What if I told you about a creature that doesn't just stalk its prey, but becomes their shadow? In the remote villages of North India, there's a chilling legend of the Andhera Jagran, or the Darkness Stalker, a sinister being that thrives in the twilight hours. The Andhera Jagran is said to attach itself to a person by merging with their shadow, invisible to the naked eye. It waits patiently, feeding on their energy until the victim grows weak, pale, and collapses. The only way to survive is to recognize the creature before it fully takes hold. But here's the twist. Once someone realizes their shadow is not their own, they must trap it in total darkness before sunrise. If they fail, the creature consumes not just their life, but their identity, leaving behind an empty shell of a person, forgotten and unrecognizable. Strange, distorted shadows and mysterious deaths have haunted locals for generations, especially during new moons when the world is at its darkest. Is this a warning to respect the unseen forces of the night, or does the Darkness Stalker still roam, silently waiting for its next victim? In the shadowy mountains of Japan, the legend of Yamamba, the mountain witch, lurks. Known for her long hair and eerie green skin, she is said to lure travelers to her lair. Originating from ancient folklore, Yamamba embodies the fears of the wild, representing both nature's beauty and its peril. Variations of her tale reveal her as a cannibalistic figure, preying on lost souls, driven by loneliness and despair. Some believe she was inspired by real-life events of people disappearing in the mountains. As stories spread, Yamamba became a cautionary figure, warning against venturing into the unknown. Beware, for she may still wander the trails, searching for her next meal. Subscribe for more chilling tales. In the heart of Indian folklore lies the haunting tale of the Churels, cursed women doomed to roam the earth as vengeful spirits. Originating from tales passed down through generations, these spectral beings are said to be the restless souls of women who suffered betrayal or mistreatment, particularly after childbirth. With their long hair draped over their faces and feet turned backward, they lure unsuspecting men into dark forests. Variations of the legend suggest that they seek revenge on those who wronged them, using their charm to ensnare their victims. There are whispered accounts of men who vanished without a trace, believed to be claimed by these malevolent spirits. Subscribe for more chilling stories like this one. What if I told you that ancient Egyptian tombs are cursed? The curse of the pharaohs originated when tomb raiders disturbed sacred sites. Legends claim that vengeful spirits protect their resting places, bringing misfortune to intruders. The most famous case is that of Tutankhamun's tomb. After its discovery in 1922, several people associated with the excavation died under mysterious circumstances. Tales of illness, accidents, and even sudden deaths fueled fears of a curse. Variations of the story suggest ancient texts warned of dire consequences for those who disrespected the dead. These chilling narratives serve as a haunting reminder. Some doors should remain closed. Subscribe for more spine-tingling tales. What if I told you that a Christmas tragedy became one of the most baffling mysteries in American history? On Christmas Eve 1945, the Sauter family's home in West Virginia was engulfed in flames. While George and Jenny Sauter and 4 of their children escaped, 5 of their kids vanished without a trace. Investigators claimed the children died in the fire, but no remains were ever found. Then came strange clues: a photo of one of the missing children, cryptic letters, and whispered theories of abduction. To this day, the Sauter children's disappearance remains unsolved. Subscribe for more haunting mysteries and stories that defy explanation. In Japan, the story of Teke Teke haunts train tracks and dark alleyways. This vengeful spirit is said to be the restless soul of a young girl who fell onto the tracks and was cut in half by a train. Her name, Teke Teke, mimics the sound of her dragging torso as she searches for vengeance. Originating in the 1950s, the legend has spread, spawning variations across regions. Some say she preys on those who linger too long near the tracks, a warning to heed the darkness. Real-life accidents have fueled the legend, blurring the line between fiction and tragedy. Will you hear the Teke Teke's call? Subscribe for more eerie tales from the shadows. In 2005, an unlisted episode of Dora the Explorer, titled Dora's Lost Adventure, appeared on the internet. It wasn't part of the official series, and no one knew where it came from. The episode began normally, with Dora and Boots on a treasure hunt, but things quickly turned eerie. The familiar music was replaced with distorted sounds, and Dora's usual cheerfulness vanished. Her eyes grew dark, and her voice became shaky, repeating, "Help me find the way out, before it finds me." Boots stood motionless, staring blankly at the screen. As the episode progressed, the characters found themselves in a decayed, empty house. Doors slammed shut, and the sound of heavy breathing echoed behind them. Dora whispered to the camera, "They're coming for you. You shouldn't have watched this." The episode abruptly cut to black. Those who watched reported feeling cold chills and hearing faint whispers in their homes afterward. Some even claimed they could hear Dora's voice calling, asking for help. The video was soon removed from the internet, but rumors persist that it still exists somewhere, waiting to be found. What if there's a cursed broadcast that drives people insane? In 1997, rumors began circulating about a strange late-night broadcast known only as the Screaming Station. Allegedly aired on an unregistered frequency, this eerie show featured distorted voices, unsettling music, and blood-curdling screams. Those who listened reported horrifying side effects: vivid nightmares, paranoia, and even psychotic breaks. The most chilling part? Many claim the broadcast ended with a voice whispering their name, despite them never sharing it. When authorities investigated, they found no trace of the signal, leading some to believe it was a supernatural phenomenon or a sinister experiment in psychological warfare. Was the Screaming Station just an urban legend, or does it still lurk, waiting to find its next victim? Subscribe for more terrifying tales of the unknown. In 2013, a strange game began circulating on social media, known simply as the Blackout Game. It was an innocuous challenge. Participants were instructed to turn off all lights in their home, set a timer for 10 minutes, and sit in complete darkness, alone. The goal was to experience true fear, as if the dark could reveal the secrets of the mind. At first, it seemed harmless, but then, stories spread of people hearing soft, whispering voices during the blackout. Some reported seeing shadows moving just beyond the edges of their vision, while others claimed they felt something touching them in the dark, though they were alone. The more people played, the more unsettling the stories became. One man, Sam, was found in his living room after completing the game, clutching a piece of paper with a name written in a language no one could decipher. His eyes were wide with terror, his body rigid, but when questioned, he could only whisper, "It saw me." A few weeks later, Sam disappeared, and the game continued to spread. Those who played the game and went missing were later found in similar states, eyes wide, terrified, and mumbling names they'd never spoken. The game faded from social media, but some still claim to hear the whispering voices if they sit alone in the dark for too long. They say the game isn't over. It's just waiting for its next player. Would you dare to play? In 2011, a strange phone number, 555-1313, began circulating in a small town. Calling it would play a crackling tone, followed by an echo of the caller's voice. At first, it was a harmless curiosity, but soon, callers heard more than their echoes, whispered secrets they'd never shared, eerie predictions, and distorted versions of their own voices. One man laughed off a prophecy of his death, until it happened, exactly as foretold. A journalist investigating the number found its source in an abandoned factory, where a single phone sat ringing. When she answered, her own voice whispered, "Don't look behind you." She vanished without a trace, and the number stopped working, though some still claim to hear phantom ringing late at night. Would you answer? In 2010, a young couple bought an old house in the countryside, eager to escape the hustle of city life. The house had been empty for years, and its former owner had passed away under mysterious circumstances. But the couple found it charming, with its creaky floors and antique furnishings. The first night they spent there, they noticed something odd. Every time they descended the staircase, they felt an unnatural chill. It wasn't just the temperature. Something was wrong. The shadows on the stairs seemed to shift and move, lingering in the corner of their vision. One evening, as they were about to go to bed, the woman turned to her partner and asked, "Did you see that shadow?" He looked at her, confused, and replied, "What shadow?" Later that night, they both heard footsteps above them, as if someone was pacing across the upstairs hallway. They assumed it was the house settling until the next morning, when they found muddy footprints on the stairs, leading up, not down. Terrified, they decided to investigate the history of the house. What they found was chilling. The previous owner had died falling down the very same stairs. Some said her spirit had never left. One night, the woman was alone, sitting at the top of the stairs, when she saw the shadow. A dark, hunched figure standing at the bottom, its eyes glowing with malice. The figure moved toward her, and as it reached the top of the stairs, it whispered, "You should never have come back." The couple fled the house and never returned. But those who stay there after report seeing the shadow, still waiting on the stair. In 2015, a strange antique shop in a sleepy coastal town gained attention for selling an old ornate mirror known as the Midnight Mirror. The shopkeeper warned buyers never to look into it at midnight, claiming it would show them what they fear most. A thrill-seeker named Max bought it as a joke and tested the legend during a party. At the stroke of midnight, he peered into the glass and froze. His friends found him hours later, trembling and muttering, "It's still watching me." He never revealed what he saw. The mirror changed hands several times, each owner reporting strange occurrences, reflections that moved independently, shadowy figures lurking behind them, and a persistent feeling of being watched. The final owner, a young woman named Sarah, vanished after writing a single note. "It doesn't show your fear, it becomes it." The midnight mirror was later found shattered in her empty apartment. Yet some say, if you stand before any mirror at midnight and call for it, you might see its fractured shards staring back at you. Would you dare to look? In 1998, an urban legend began circulating about a hidden, never-before-seen episode of Sesame Street. Known only as the Unseen Room, this lost episode was said to have been found on an old VHS tape in a secondhand store. The episode began innocuously, with the usual sunny theme and the familiar characters: Big Bird, Elmo, Cookie Monster, and the gang. However, something was off. The colors on the screen appeared faded, the characters' movements jerky and unnatural. Big Bird was the first to act strangely. Instead of his usual cheerful self, he stood silently in the middle of Sesame Street, staring directly into the camera. His eyes were hollow, and his feathers appeared tattered and ragged. The other characters slowly joined him, their faces frozen in unsettling expressions. As the episode continued, the characters began moving in unnatural ways, turning their heads at impossible angles, whispering unintelligible words, and looking directly at the camera as if they were aware of the viewer watching them. Then, a door behind them opened, a door no one had ever seen before. It led to a pitch-black room. When the characters entered, the screen flickered and the audience heard faint whispers. The tape ended abruptly with a chilling message: "You are the next guest." Those who watched it claimed to hear faint whispers coming from their televisions long after the tape had finished. The episode was soon removed from circulation, and no copies of it remain, except for those few who were unlucky enough to see it. In 2003, an urban legend about a strange, never-aired episode of Blue's Clues began to spread among fans. The episode was titled The Final Clue, and it was said to have been discovered in an old, dusty tape in a defunct TV station's vault. The episode started innocuously enough, with Steve and Blue solving a typical puzzle around the house. But soon, things began to feel off. Steve's usual cheerfulness faded, and his smile grew wider, more forced. Blue, too, was acting strangely. Her tail wagged, but there was no excitement in her eyes. Then, the episode took a dark turn. Steve began asking strange questions, staring directly at the camera, his voice sounding more robotic with each word. "Do you want to know what the final clue is?" he asked, his eyes unblinking. The camera shifted to the living room, and there, in the corner of the room, was a shadowy figure, an unsettling silhouette that didn't belong. It was tall, hunched over, with no clear features, just an ever-shifting dark shape. Blue seemed to notice it too, but instead of barking, she backed away, looking terrified. Suddenly, the screen began to flicker, and a distorted voice whispered, "You've solved the wrong puzzle." The image froze for a moment before cutting to static. The last few seconds of the tape were unintelligible, filled with harsh noise, before it cut off completely. The episode was quickly removed, and no one has been able to track down a copy since. Some believe the broadcast was a warning, while others think it's a curse, one that no child or adult should ever witness. In 2007, a strange phenomenon began on local cable networks, Channel 404. It aired at random times, with no schedule or listings. Each broadcast began with static and a distorted title card that read, "Welcome to the last broadcast." The episodes were unsettling. Empty playgrounds swaying in the wind, shadowy figures lurking in dark rooms, and faces staring silently into the camera, their lips moving but no sound coming out. Viewers who tuned in started reporting bizarre occurrences. One woman heard whispers from her TV even after it was unplugged. A man saw his own face appear on screen, staring back at him in horror. The most chilling case was that of Eric, a teenager who became obsessed with recording the show. After watching one episode, he locked himself in his room, scribbling phrases like, "It sees me," and "Don't tune in again" on his walls. 2 days later, he vanished without a trace, his TV still tuned to static. Despite numerous investigations, Channel 404's origin remained a mystery. Technicians confirmed the signal didn't exist, yet sightings continued. Some believe the show is a doorway to something darker, and if you ever find yourself on Channel 404, don't hesitate. Change the channel, or you might become part of the last broadcast. During the construction of the Great Wall, a mysterious builder named Mung made a dark pact with ancient mountain spirits, promising his soul in exchange for protection and strength in his work. As the wall grew taller, Mung's behavior became increasingly strange. He often wandered off into the mountains at night, returning with hollow eyes and whispers following him. One fateful night, as the wall reached its highest point, Mung stood at the edge, staring into the darkness. When the workers called his name, he turned slowly, revealing an empty gaze. Without a word, he stepped backward into the abyss, disappearing into the shadows. The next morning, the section of the wall Mung had built had crumbled overnight. At the base of the ruins was a mysterious symbol, unlike any the builders had seen before, pulsing with an eerie energy. Since then, stories spread of eerie occurrences along that part of the wall, footsteps echoing in the night, strange whispers, and a shadowy figure roaming the ruins. It's said that Ming's spirit still haunts the wall, calling those who dare to wander near the cursed stones into the darkness. In the early 2000s, a lost episode of Teletubbies surfaced online, titled, "The Day the Sun Didn't Rise." At first, it seemed like just another strange episode of the children's show, but it quickly grew unsettling. The Teletubbies, usually cheerful and colorful, were different this time. Their smiles were wide, almost too wide, and their movements were jerky and unnatural. The sun, normally a joyful face in the sky, appeared distorted. Its face was cracked, its eyes hollow, and its smile twisted into something grotesque. As the episode progressed, the Teletubbies began to behave oddly. They stared directly at the camera, and Tinky Winky, the purple Teletubby, whispered in a voice that didn't sound like his usual playful tone, "We're waiting for you." Suddenly, the screen flickered and showed a dark, empty landscape, with the Teletubbies standing motionless in the middle of it. Their bodies grew blurry, as if they were being erased from existence. The sound faded into a deep, echoing silence, broken only by the distorted laughter of the sun. The episode ended abruptly, and the video vanished from the internet. Those who watched it reported nightmares of the Teletubbies staring at them, waiting for them to join them in that empty, dark world. No one knows where the episode came from, but those who found it warn others not to search for it. The Teletubbies aren't as innocent as they seem. If you see the other mother at night in your dreams, just run. This character, with her button eyes and sinister smile, is rooted in deeper horrors than her whimsical appearance suggests. The theory posits that she represents a dark manifestation of parental neglect and abandonment. Originating from Neil Gaiman's novella, The Other Mother is a twisted reflection of Coraline's real mother, who is overwhelmed and inattentive. Variations of this theory explore the unsettling idea that she lures children into a false paradise to feed on their souls, a grim echo of real-life stories of child exploitation. The haunting visuals and chilling essence of The Other Mother remind us of the dark corners of our own realities. Subscribe for more eerie tales. If you see a shadowy figure at night in Arendelle, just run. The chilling theory surrounding Disney's Frozen suggests that Elsa and Anna's parents are part of a darker narrative than viewers realize. Legend has it that their ship sank in a storm, but some fans believe they did not perish. Instead, they were victims of a sinister plot to hide a dark secret about their royal lineage. This theory connects to real events, such as maritime tragedies and royal betrayals throughout history. The chilling implications suggest that their disappearance was orchestrated to eliminate a threat to the kingdom. As layers of this haunting tale unfold, one wonders what else lies beneath the surface. Subscribe for more chilling theories. What if I told you that ancient Egyptian tombs are cursed? The curse of the pharaohs originated when tomb raiders disturbed sacred sites. Legends claim that vengeful spirits protect their resting places, bringing misfortune to intruders. The most famous case is that of Tutankhamun's tomb. After its discovery in 1922, several people associated with the excavation died under mysterious circumstances. Tales of illness, accidents, and even sudden deaths fueled fears of a curse. Variations of the story suggest ancient texts warned of dire consequences for those who disrespected the dead. These chilling narratives serve as a haunting reminder. Some doors should remain closed. Subscribe for more spine-tingling tales.
In the cobwebbed corner of her late grandfather's workshop, Mia discovered an ornate music box, its wood chipped, and the figurine of a ballerina missing an arm. Curious, she wound it up, and a haunting melody filled the air, discordant yet strangely hypnotic. What Mia didn't realize was that the music box once belonged to a girl named Celeste, who died tragically on the night of her final ballet performance. As the days passed, the music box would play on its own, its eerie tune echoing through the house. Mia began to notice fleeting glimpses of a figure in a tattered ballet costume reflected in mirrors and windows. She found herself inexplicably drawn to dance, her movements mirroring routines she'd never learned. One night, Mia awoke to find her feet blistered and bruised as though she'd been performing for hours. Desperate for answers, Mia uncovered an old newspaper clipping. Celeste's life was cut short in a tragic fall after someone sabotaged her performance. The music box, cursed by Celeste's unfulfilled dreams, ensnared those who touched it, forcing them to complete her final dance. Terrified, Mia tried to return the box to the workshop, but it followed her, always reappearing at her bedside. The final time she wound it, the melody grew deafening, and Celeste's figure materialized, whispering, "You'll dance for me forever now." Mia's screams were lost in the swirling music as the world faded into shadow. While exploring the storage room of her new home, Claire uncovered an antique mirror framed in tarnished silver, its surface slightly warped. Fascinated, she hung it in her bedroom, unaware of the stories tied to it. The mirror had once belonged to a recluse named Eliza, who disappeared without a trace, leaving behind whispers of a cursed reflection that consumed her. At first, the mirror seemed ordinary, but soon Claire noticed oddities. Her reflection would linger a moment longer after she moved, or she'd catch glimpses of shadowy figures behind her that vanished when she turned around. Then her reflection began to change, smiling when she wasn't, or moving when she stood still. Terrified, Claire tried to cover the mirror, but the blanket slipped off during the night. One morning, she found the words, "Let me out," scrawled in the condensation on the glass. Researching the mirror's history, she discovered that Eliza had been trapped within it after performing a ritual to see her true self. When Claire attempted to remove the mirror, she realized it was impossible to lift. That night, her reflection spoke, its voice a chilling echo of her own. "Your turn to stay." The next morning, Claire's parents found an empty bedroom. The mirror hung on the wall, its surface now perfectly smooth, and a faint, muffled scream echoed whenever someone stood too close. In the dusty attic of her grandmother's house, Lily stumbled upon an old doll, its porcelain face cracked, yet eerily beautiful. Intrigued, she brought it down to her room, unaware of its dark history. The doll once belonged to a girl named Evelyn, who mysteriously vanished one stormy night, leaving behind whispers of a jealous spirit. As Lily played with the doll, strange occurrences began. Shadows darted across her walls, and chilling whispers echoed in the silence. One night, she awoke to find the doll sitting upright at the end of her bed, its glassy eyes seemingly fixated on her. Heart racing, she tossed it aside. The next day, her friends wouldn't speak to her, their faces twisted in fear. Lily felt the weight of 1,000 stares, empty and cold, settling deep within her. Desperate, she researched the doll, uncovering the truth. Evelyn's spirit had never left, trapped within the porcelain shell, seeking revenge on those who dared disturb her rest. That night, Lily returned the doll to the attic, but it was gone. Instead, she found a note pinned to the wall in Evelyn's childish handwriting. "Now you play with me forever." In the cluttered attic of her aunt's Victorian home, Sophie uncovered a faded carnival mask, its once vibrant feathers now brittle, and its painted smile cracked. Something about the mask compelled her, and she brought it to her room as a quirky decoration. Little did she know, the mask belonged to a performer named Margot, who disappeared during a masquerade decades ago, leaving behind rumors of a sinister obsession. The moment Sophie hung the mask on her wall, strange things began happening. At night, muffled giggles filled her room, and faint music played as if from a distant ballroom. When Sophie wore the mask on a whim, she experienced fleeting moments of disorientation, her reflection showing someone else's face, a glamorous yet menacing figure. Haunted by these occurrences, Sophie dug into the mask's history, uncovering tales of Margot's untimely demise after a jilted admirer swore she'd never leave the masquerade alive. The mask, cursed by Margot's restless spirit, ensnared anyone who dared claim it. One evening, Sophie awoke to find herself dressed in an old-fashioned gown, the mask fixed to her face. Her reflection now stared back with Margot's mocking smile. Sophie tried to destroy the mask, but it always reappeared, and every morning she found herself more and more like Margot. The final message, scrawled on her bedroom wall in lipstick, sealed her fate. The show must go on. In the dim light of her attic, Clara discovered an old, dust-laden camera, its leather strap cracked with age. Intrigued, she decided to test it out, keen on capturing memories of her quiet home. After a few trial shots, she turned to her reflection in the attic mirror. As she pressed the shutter, a strange sensation prickled her skin. The flash illuminated the corner of the attic, where shadows twisted unsettlingly. Brushing it off as her imagination, she continued snapping pictures, each click echoing in the stillness. Later that evening, Clara developed the photos, her anticipation mounting. But when the images emerged, her heart dropped. In every shot, lurking behind her were figures, pale, twisted shapes that seemed to leer at her. Panic set in as she realized that in the last photograph, one figure was closer, its eyes glinting with malice. That night, she heard a whisper, a raspy voice calling her name, growing louder until it filled her head. The next day, Clara vanished without a trace. The camera remained, the last photograph still hanging in the air, waiting for another unsuspecting soul to discover its sinister secret. While cleaning out the cluttered basement of her family's century-old manor, Clara discovered an antique locket resting inside a cracked jewelry box. Tarnished yet alluring, the locket seemed to call to her. Curious, Clara opened it, revealing the sepia-toned portrait of a young girl with sorrowful eyes. What she didn't know was that the locket once belonged to Isabella, a child who vanished under mysterious circumstances long ago, leaving whispers of betrayal and rage. Clara began wearing the locket, unaware of the curse it carried. Soon, her nights were plagued by vivid dreams of drowning, and the faint sound of sobbing echoed through the halls. Objects moved on their own, and mirrors reflected more than just Clara's image. One evening, she woke to find water pooling around her bed, and Isabella's voice pleading, "Save me." Panicked, Clara sought answers, uncovering a tragic story of jealousy and murder. Isabella's spirit, bound to the locket, sought not just justice but company in her eternal misery. When Clara tried to return the locket to its resting place, she found it tightly clasped around her neck, the clasp broken and immovable. That night, she found a single message etched into her bathroom mirror. "You're mine now." In the heart of a forgotten cemetery, a young boy named Eli stumbled upon a grave overgrown with brambles. The name was barely legible, etched into crumbling stone: Abigail. Intrigued, he knelt down, brushing away dirt, when a soft whisper filled the air. "Help me," it pleaded, sending shivers down his spine. Eli glanced around, but the cemetery was empty, save for the rustling leaves. Compelled, he pressed his ear against the stone. "They won't let me go," the voice lamented, sending his heart racing. Each day after school, Eli returned to the grave, drawn by the whispers that grew more frantic. "Dig. Find me," it urged, as if urging him to uncover long-buried secrets. His friends warned him to stay away, but the allure of the voice consumed his thoughts. One fateful evening, driven by a mixture of dread and curiosity, Eli brought a small shovel. As he dug, the soil felt unnaturally cold. Suddenly, the ground shifted, and Eli's hands brushed against something slick. Panic surged. He unearthed a small, hollow casket. When he opened it, he screamed as a shriveled hand grasped his wrist, pulling him into darkness. The whispers ceased, and the cemetery fell silent, waiting for the next curious soul. In a dusty attic, Sarah found an old porcelain doll, its painted eyes glinting mischievously in the dim light. Intrigued, she took it home, thinking it would make a perfect gift for her younger sister, Lily. That night, as the house settled into silence, Sarah heard a soft voice drifting from the doll. "Help me," it whispered, sending chills down her spine. Dismissing it as her imagination, she fell into a restless sleep, the doll perched ominously on her bedside table. The next day, Sarah noticed oddities. Lily spoke of a new friend who told her secrets about their family, things no one but Sarah had known. As dazed, the whispers grew clearer, revealing truths that spiraled into darkness. The doll shared the tale of a girl named Eliza, who had gone missing decades ago, a girl who had once owned a similar doll. One stormy night, Sarah awoke to find the doll gone. Panic surged as she rushed to Lily's room, only to discover her sister was missing too. In her place was the doll, now with eyes that seemed to glimmer with malicious glee. The last whisper echoed in Sarah's mind, "You'll find her where I once was lost." The attic door creaked open, inviting her into the darkness. Every night, the light in the old hallway flickered, casting long, dancing shadows that twisted across the walls. Clara had grown accustomed to it, dismissing it as a mere electrical fault. But tonight felt different. The air was thicker, charged with an unsettling energy. As she passed the doorway, the light dimmed, and a shape seemed to flicker just at the edge of her vision. She halted, heart racing, peering into the darkness. Nothing moved, yet she felt a presence behind her. She spun around, but the hallway was empty. Shaking off the feeling, Clara returned to her room. The flickering resumed, more insistent now. Each pulse of light revealed the outline of something, tall, slender, and impossibly still. She grabbed her phone, the screen illuminating the room, and cautiously stepped back into the hallway. The light was brighter now, almost blinding, and as it flickered, the shape morphed, growing closer with each pulse. In an instant, the light went out, plunging her into darkness. Clara was frozen, terror gripping her as she felt cold breath on her neck. The moment the light flickered back on, she gasped, realizing she was not alone. There in the glow stood a version of herself, eyes wide with horror, trapped in a silent scream. The old house creaked with age, but it was the whispers that unsettled Mia most. Each night, as she settled into her bed, the soft murmurs drifted down from the attic. At first, she dismissed them as the wind or her imagination, but they grew more distinct, forming a haunting chorus of unintelligible words. Curiosity gnawed at her until, one fateful night, she resolved to investigate. Grabbing a flashlight, she climbed the rickety stairs, the air growing cold and thick with unease. The whispers swirled around her, now sounding like pleas. "Help us," they seemed to beg. Heart pounding, Mia pushed open the attic door. Dust particles danced in the narrow beam of her light, revealing a cramped space filled with forgotten relics and darkness. As she stepped inside, the whispers intensified, surrounding her like a clamoring crowd. Suddenly, her flashlight flickered and died, plunging her into suffocating blackness. Panic surged. She stumbled back towards the door, but it slammed shut, trapping her inside. The whispers transformed into laughter, low, mocking, and hungry. They were no longer pleas, they were promises. As the last light of her sanity dimmed, Mia realized she was not alone. She never would be again. Emily always loved the old mirror in her grandmother's attic, its ornate frame a relic of the past. One stormy night, seeking solace from the thunder, she climbed up to gaze into it. As lightning illuminated the attic, she noticed something strange. Her reflection smiled back at her, even though her own lips were pressed into a thin line of confusion. Heart racing, she blinked, certain it was a trick of the light. But the reflection remained, grinning wider, eyes glinting with malice. Panic surged through her as she stepped back, but the reflection didn't move. Instead, it raised a hand, beckoning her closer. Against her better judgment, Emily leaned in, drawn by an inexplicable force. Suddenly, the glass rippled like water, and without warning, her reflection lunged forward, yanking her into the mirror's depths. Trapped in the cold, dark void, she screamed, but it echoed only within her mind. Outside, the mirror reflected the attic, still and quiet. In the glass, Emily's reflection now wore her face, wearing a satisfied smile. It whispered softly, "Your turn to be me." And in the stillness of the attic, the last flicker of lightning faded, leaving only the reflection watching, waiting. In the forgotten library of her great-uncle's mansion, Emma unearthed an aged, leather-bound journal. Its cover was scarred with claw-like marks, and its pages smelled faintly of soot. The journal seemed blank at first, but as Emma turned the pages, words began to appear in a childlike scrawl, describing the life of a boy named Samuel who vanished under strange circumstances during a fire. Intrigued, Emma kept the journal close, unaware of its ominous power. Each night, more entries surfaced, recounting Samuel's growing fear of the shadow, a sinister figure that tormented him. Emma began hearing faint whispers while reading, and flickering shadows danced across her room's walls, even in complete darkness. One night, she woke to find the journal open on her desk, the words "I see you" freshly inked. Frightened, Emma researched the mansion's history and discovered that Samuel had tried to warn his family of the shadow before he disappeared. Now, the journal served as a beacon, drawing the shadow to its reader. When Emma attempted to destroy the book, she found it untouched on her nightstand the next morning, its final message chilling her to the core. "You're next." The shadow lingered after that, growing closer each night, until Emma's reflection vanished from every mirror. All that remained was a pair of glowing eyes in the darkness. In a village shrouded by dense woods, whispers of an ancient curse loomed like shadows. Each year, to appease the unseen force that haunted their lands, one villager would vanish, never to be seen again. This year, it was Clara's turn. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the villagers gathered at the old stone altar, their faces pale and eyes full of dread. Clara, trembling but resolute, stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. She had volunteered, believing the sacrifice would save her loved ones. As the villagers chanted in hushed tones, Clara felt the cold grip of despair clutching her throat. Suddenly, an eerie howl pierced the night, and the ground trembled beneath her feet. The atmosphere thickened, and she sensed the presence of something sinister. In a panic, she turned to flee. But the villagers, their faces eerily calm, blocked her path. With horror dawning, Clara realized the truth. They weren't here to save her. They were the sacrifice. In an instant, the altar cracked open, revealing a gaping maw of darkness. As she was pulled into the abyss, Clara's screams echoed through the woods, merging with the whispers of the villagers, who smiled knowingly, their offering complete.
Fans of the beloved 1990s children's show Sunny Friends Club claim a lost episode aired only once before vanishing. Known for its cheerful tone and colorful characters, this episode was different, darker, unsettling, and impossible to find. Rumors spread on forums. Viewers remembered an episode where the characters behaved strangely. The animation was off, the colors muted, and the music warped. Instead of the usual playful antics, the characters wandered aimlessly, mumbling incoherent phrases. The episode ended with the main character staring directly at the screen, their eyes unnaturally wide. A low, droning sound played as they whispered, "We're not safe. Neither are you." Then the screen cut to static. Network executives denied the episode existed, but scattered accounts persisted. Some claimed they felt ill after watching it, plagued by nightmares and paranoia. Others swore they saw symbols flash on the screen, as if hiding a secret message. One former network employee anonymously claimed the episode was a test for subliminal messaging in a government experiment. It was allegedly pulled after its first airing, but not before affecting those who saw it. To this day, no recordings have surfaced. Fans searching for it report strange occurrences, files corrupting, devices crashing, and brief flickers of the main character's face staring lifelessly. Was it a hoax, a cover-up, or something more sinister? All that remains is the whispered name, Sunny Friends Club.
Jason always dismissed the weird looks people gave him. "You were just here," strangers would say, but Jason would laugh it off. How could he be in two places at once? Then his girlfriend, Emma, started acting distant. "You've been so cold lately," she said one night. Jason was confused. He hadn't seen her all day. Things got worse when he walked into his apartment and heard laughter coming from the living room. He froze. Emma was there, sitting on the couch, talking to someone. It was him. The other Jason turned to look at him, smiling in a way that sent chills down his spine. "You're not supposed to be here," it said, its voice too smooth, too perfect. Jason backed away, but Emma stared at him in confusion. "Jason, what's wrong?" she asked, looking between the two of them. The other Jason stood, its movements unnervingly fluid. "I'm the better version," it said. "You've had your chance." Before Jason could react, the double lunged. When the police arrived hours later, Emma insisted there was only one Jason. But every time he passed a mirror, his reflection stared back with wide, terrified eyes, silently begging for help.
What if all you know about the Conjuring House was a lie? Originating from real-life events in the 1970s, this infamous location is steeped in horror. The Perron family who moved in experienced unexplained phenomena, whispers, cold spots, and ghostly apparitions. Ed and Lorraine Warren, renowned paranormal investigators, were called to help. They claimed the house was haunted by a witch named Bathsheba Sherman, who once lived there and cursed anyone who dared to take her land. The family's terrifying encounters inspired chilling tales, blurring reality and fiction. Are the Warrens' claims fabricated? Or is something sinister lurking within those walls? Subscribe for more eerie stories.
Clara always closed her curtains before bed, but lately she'd wake to find them slightly open. Her neighbors began mentioning seeing her standing at the window late at night, staring out. "You were just watching," her friend said one morning. "I waved, but you didn't move." Clara laughed nervously. "I was asleep." One night, she stayed awake, determined to catch whatever was happening. At 3 a.m., a faint tapping came from the window. Heart pounding, Clara turned to see a figure standing outside, her own face staring back at her. The shadow smiled and tapped again, its movements jerky and unnatural. "Let me in," it mouthed. Clara backed away, grabbing her phone, but when she looked again, the figure was inside, standing by the window. It moved toward her, its steps perfectly mirroring hers. "You've been living my life," it whispered. "Now it's my turn." Before Clara could scream, the shadow lunged. The next morning, Clara greeted her neighbors with a cheerful smile. But at night, behind the closed curtains, her reflection pressed its hands against the glass, its face twisted in silent, desperate terror. Flight 717 was a routine red-eye from Chicago to Denver. It was a clear night, and passengers settled in for the short flight. But 45 minutes in, the plane abruptly disappeared from radar. No distress signal, no debris, just gone. The official report blamed a freak electrical malfunction, but conspiracy theorists had other ideas. Some claimed the plane was hijacked by shadowy government forces. Others believed it entered a time slip, or was abducted by something not of this world. Months later, strange reports surfaced. A farmer in Nebraska claimed to see a plane hovering silently in the sky before vanishing. Hikers in Colorado found a field littered with charred airline seats, but no sign of passengers. Then, nearly a year to the day after its disappearance, Flight 717 reappeared. Air traffic controllers in Denver were stunned when the plane landed on an empty runway, its lights flickering. But there was no one on board. The seats were intact, luggage still stowed, and the cockpit was empty. Investigators found only one clue. The plane's black box recorded hours of static, interrupted by a single chilling phrase whispered over and over, "They took us." The plane was quietly dismantled, and officials dismissed the incident as a hoax. But late at night, conspiracy forums buzz with theories. Some say Flight 717 never landed at all, that what returned wasn't the same plane. Others claim to hear faint whispers when passing near the Denver airport, as if the passengers are still calling for help. It started with sudden blackouts. Entire neighborhoods plunged into darkness, always at 3 a.m., lasting exactly 13 minutes. When the power returned, residents reported the same thing. Their TVs and radios turned on, broadcasting a faint signal. The broadcast was eerie, distorted voices, static, and a faint, rhythmic tapping. Those who listened too closely swore they heard their own names whispered. Maya, a night owl, decided to investigate. When the blackout hit her street, she lit a candle and turned on her radio. The static came first, then the voices, faint and overlapping. She froze when she heard her name, spoken in her own voice. Suddenly, the tapping grew louder, more deliberate, as if someone or something was inside her house. She grabbed her flashlight and followed the sound to her living room. Her TV had turned on, showing a live feed of her standing there, holding the flashlight. Then the screen flickered, and a shadow appeared behind her in the broadcast. Maya spun around, but the room was empty. The voice from the TV whispered, "You've been chosen." When the power returned, Maya was gone. Her house was left undisturbed, except for the TV, which played static on an endless loop. Conspiracy theorists claim the blackouts are tests for a larger event, a way to identify and take targets. But those who disappear never return, and the broadcasts continue, whispering new names into the night. It started as a rumor on conspiracy forums. A strange radio frequency, dubbed the Black Signal, could be picked up at exactly 3:03 a.m. on shortwave radios. Those who tuned in claimed to hear a distorted voice delivering cryptic messages, coordinates, or chilling warnings like, "They are watching." Jake, a self-proclaimed conspiracy enthusiast, decided to investigate. He dusted off an old radio, set his alarm for 3 a.m., and tuned in. At first, there was only static. Faintly, a voice emerged, crackling and disjointed. "Do not look outside," it said. Jake froze, heart pounding. Against his better judgment, he glanced at the window. A dark figure stood motionless in the yard, its outline barely visible in the moonlight. The next night, curiosity overtook fear. He tuned in again. This time, the voice whispered coordinates, his exact location. "Leave now," it added. By the third night, the voice grew clearer. "They know you're listening," it hissed. The lights in Jake's house flickered and his phone vibrated. A text appeared. "Stop." Terrified, Jake unplugged the radio and smashed it, but the signal didn't stop. His TV flickered on, displaying static, and the voice returned, louder than ever. "You can't run." The next morning, Jake was gone. His house was empty, save for a single unmarked radio sitting on the table, still tuned to the black signal. The forums went silent after that, but some claim the signal still broadcasts, waiting for its next listener.
What if I told you there's a forest so haunted, locals won't set foot in it after dark? Deep in Romania lies the Hoia Baciu Forest, often called the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania. Known for its twisted trees and eerie silence, the forest is home to countless tales of disappearances, ghostly apparitions, and unexplainable phenomena. Legend has it that a shepherd once entered the forest with 200 sheep, and none of them were ever seen again. Another story speaks of a little girl who vanished, only to reappear years later, unchanged and with no memory of where she'd been. People report feeling watched, sudden nausea, and even strange lights floating between the trees. And then there's the forest's infamous clearing, a perfect circle where nothing grows, said to be a portal to another dimension. Paranormal investigators have recorded bizarre energy readings here, but no one can explain why it exists. Would you dare to enter this forest of nightmares? Subscribe for more spine-chilling tales from around the world.
It started with a strange notification. People would receive a message on their phone that simply said, "You've been scheduled." No sender, no details, just a date and time. Emma got hers at midnight. The notification appeared even though her phone was on airplane mode. "You've been scheduled, 3 a.m. tomorrow." She tried deleting it, but it wouldn't go away. By morning, rumors online revealed others had received the same message. Theories ranged from a viral prank to hackers, but one thing stood out: no one who reached their scheduled time was ever heard from again. Emma stayed awake that night, every light on, clutching her phone. At exactly 3 a.m., the lights flickered, and her phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a live feed of her own living room. In the video, a figure stood behind her. Emma spun around, but the room was empty. The screen now displayed a countdown. Panicked, she tried to call for help, but her phone was locked to the timer. The figure reappeared on the screen, closer now, its face blurred but its intent clear. The countdown hit 0. The screen went black. The next day, Emma's apartment was silent. Her phone lay on the floor, the notification still glowing. "You've been scheduled." Conspiracy theorists claim the notifications are part of a sinister AI experiment or a ritualistic purge, but no one knows who or what is behind it. All they know is when the message comes, you can't escape your appointment.
What if all you know about The Simpsons was not just a show, but a chilling prophecy? This iconic series, known for its humor, has eerily predicted major events, from Donald Trump's presidency to the 9/11 attacks. Originating in the late 1980s, some episodes contain bizarre coincidences that have left fans unnerved. One infamous episode featured a monorail system in Springfield, only to have a real-life monorail proposal arise in 1997. Over the years, variations of this theory suggest that the show's creators possess a supernatural foresight. Real-life tragedies seem to echo in its plot lines, leading some viewers to wonder, is it all just a bizarre coincidence? Or is there something sinister at play? Subscribe for more chilling tales.
The Millers stumbled upon the old clock at a dusty antique shop. It was beautiful, hand-carved wood with intricate gears and a faint chime that felt oddly soothing. The shopkeeper warned them, "This clock keeps more than time," but they laughed it off and brought it home. At first, the clock was a charming centerpiece, but soon its ticking grew louder, echoing through the house even when they weren't near it. The hands moved erratically, sometimes stopping altogether, only to start spinning backward. One night, at exactly 3:33 a.m., the chime rang out, louder than ever before. The family woke to find the house freezing cold, the air heavy. Shadows moved unnaturally, stretching and twisting along the walls. Their son Max was the first to notice the figure, a gaunt man in a tattered suit standing near the clock. His hollow eyes locked onto them as he whispered, "Time's up." The family tried to flee, but every door led back to the living room. The clock's hands spun faster and faster, the chime now deafening. One by one, the Millers vanished, their screams swallowed by the sound of grinding gears. By morning, the house was silent. The clock sat pristine, its hands reset to midnight, waiting patiently for its next owner.
What if all you know about government secrecy was a lie? The eerie world of alien conspiracies depicted in a popular series raises unsettling questions. One chilling theory suggests the existence of a secret project called MK Ultra, where the government experimented on unwitting citizens, blurring lines between reality and fiction. This project, shrouded in darkness, aimed to explore mind control and often included bizarre tests reminiscent of extraterrestrial encounters. The eerie resemblance between these experiments and the show's plotlines implies that fiction may echo true horrors. Are we merely spectators, or are we being watched? Subscribe for more unnerving tales.
It began as a rumor on forums, a phone number that shouldn't exist. If you called it, a distorted voice would answer, saying only, "Do you want to know the truth?" Most dismissed it as a hoax, but those who called often vanished within days. Mia found the number scrawled on a sticky note at work. Curious, she dialed it. The call connected instantly, though no ringtone played. A voice whispered, "Do you want to know the truth?" She hesitated, then said, "Yes." The voice chuckled. "You already know it." The line went dead, but her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notifications flooded in, photos of her taken from angles she didn't recognize. One showed her at her desk that morning, another sitting on her couch. The last photo was taken at that moment. It showed her on the phone, with a shadowy figure standing behind her. She turned, but no one was there. The next day, Mia's co-workers noticed her desk was empty. Her apartment, too, was eerily spotless, save for her phone. It buzzed with one final message: "You're part of it now." Conspiracy forums exploded with theories, secret organizations, time loops, or a surveillance system gone rogue. But no one knows where the calls come from or where the callers go. All they know is the number keeps appearing, waiting for someone else to pick up.
It began with strange reports, people hearing static on their devices, even when they were turned off. Phones, TVs, radios, it didn't matter. The static came, always accompanied by faint voices that seemed to whisper names. Ben first noticed it on his phone. Late one night, as he scrolled in bed, the screen flickered. The static started, and through it, he heard his name. "Ben," the voice whispered, faint but unmistakable. He dismissed it as a glitch, but the next day, his coworkers mentioned hearing his name too, on their own devices. "It was like you were calling me," one said, unnerved. That night, Ben unplugged everything. But at 3 a.m., his TV turned on by itself. Static filled the screen, and the whispers returned, louder this time. "We're coming for you, Ben." Terrified, he tried to leave, but his front door wouldn't open. The lights flickered, and the static grew deafening. Through the noise, a shadow formed on the TV screen, growing clearer until it resembled Ben himself. The shadow smiled and spoke, "You can't run." When Ben's friends came to check on him the next day, his apartment was empty. His phone sat on the table, playing endless static. Theories flooded the internet: a government experiment, a digital curse, or a message from another dimension. But one thing was certain: if you heard your name in the static, it was already too late. When the Garcias moved into their new home, they were delighted to discover an extra room not listed on the blueprints. It was small but cozy, tucked behind the laundry room with a single window that overlooked the backyard. Their teenage son, Ben, claimed it as his own space. He filled it with books, posters, and a beanbag chair, spending hours there after school. But soon he began acting strangely, distant, tired, and jumpy. One night, Ben burst into his parents' room, trembling. "The window doesn't look outside anymore," he whispered. Confused, they followed him to the room. Sure enough, the window no longer showed the backyard, but a black void, faintly pulsing as if alive. Over the next few days, the family tried to avoid the room, but its door would always be open, the darkness inside seeming to creep closer. Then they heard Ben talking to someone. When they confronted him, he said, "It's not a someone. It's the room. It says it's hungry." That night, Ben disappeared. They searched the house, calling his name, but all they found was his phone lying in the center of the extra room. By morning, the room was gone, its door replaced by a solid wall. The Garcias swore it had been there, but no one believed them. Years later, the house's new owners reported hearing faint knocks coming from behind the laundry room wall. Sophia always joked about her terrible memory. "I'd forget my own roommate if I wasn't careful," she'd laugh. But lately, things felt off. She'd come home to find the TV on or food missing from the fridge, even though she lived alone. One day, her coworker asked, "How's your roommate? She seemed nice when I saw her last week." Sophia froze. She didn't have a roommate. That night, she heard footsteps in the hall. Heart pounding, she grabbed a knife and crept toward the sound. The footsteps led to her bedroom. When she pushed open the door, someone was sitting on her bed, someone who looked exactly like her. The figure smiled, tilting its head. "You don't remember me," it said softly, "but I remember you." Sophia tried to back away, but the figure stood, mirroring her every move. "You forgot about me," it whispered, its voice dripping with venom. "But I've been here the whole time." Before Sophia could scream, the figure lunged. The next morning, Sophia's friends noticed she seemed different. Her smile was too wide, her laugh too sharp. And at night, when she looked in the mirror, her reflection mouthed silently, "Let me out."
What if I told you about a night of music and celebration that turned into a chilling tale of tragedy and haunting? In 1996, Ozone Disco in Quezon City, Philippines, was the site of one of the deadliest nightclub fires in history. Over 160 lives were lost in the blaze, many trapped inside the building with no escape. Legend has it that the souls of those who perished never left. People claim to hear faint music, laughter, and screams coming from the abandoned site late at night. Taxi drivers report seeing ghostly figures hailing rides, only for them to vanish once the car stops. Locals believe the spirits linger, reliving their final moments, or seeking justice for the neglect that led to the tragedy. Is it a place forever marked by grief? Or does the Ozone Disco still echo with the voices of the past? Subscribe for more true stories that blur the line between tragedy and the supernatural. What if all you know about the cursed videotape was a lie? The legend of the ring traces back to ancient folklore, where spirits were said to be trapped in images, seeking vengeance. The chilling tale follows a young girl named Samara, whose tragic death fueled her wrath. Some believe this horror was inspired by a real-life phenomenon where discarded tapes led to mysterious vanishings. Over time, variations of the story emerged, each deepening the fear surrounding the tape. Those who dared to watch it faced terrifying apparitions, culminating in their demise. The tape serves as a warning, a reminder that some films are more than entertainment.
The Thompsons were thrilled to find an antique mirror at a local estate sale. It was tall, ornate, and perfect for their living room. But from the moment they hung it, strange things began to happen. At first it was small, a flicker in the corner of their vision, a shadow that didn't belong. Then their daughter, Lily, claimed she saw someone in the mirror. "She looks like me," Lily said, "but she's not." One night, as the family watched TV, the mirror's surface rippled. John Thompson dismissed it as a trick of the light, but his wife swore she saw their reflections move when they hadn't. Things escalated when Lily stopped responding to her name. She'd stand in front of the mirror for hours, her lips moving silently. When her mother tried to pull her away, Lily turned and whispered, "She says it's my turn now." The next morning, Lily was gone. Her reflection remained, staring back with a twisted smile. Desperate, the Thompsons smashed the mirror, but all that was left was a black void where the glass had been. Faint laughter echoed from the shards. The mirror was gone, but every window in the house now showed a reflection that didn't match. In the 1980s, a small town called Ashbourne vanished overnight. Maps were updated, records erased, and its name forgotten. Only a handful of conspiracy theorists claim it ever existed. Lila, a journalist, stumbled across a cryptic forum thread about Ashbourne. It mentioned strange experiments and government cover-ups. Intrigued, she followed the breadcrumbs, old newspaper clippings, abandoned roads leading to nowhere, and whispers of a Project Silent Dawn. Eventually, she found the supposed location. A cracked, overgrown road led to a clearing where the town should have been. Instead, she found crumbling foundations and a single intact sign, "Welcome to Ashburn." As Lila explored, she noticed the air felt heavy and the silence was unnatural. Then she saw them, shadowy figures moving just beyond her vision. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Leave now." Ignoring the warning, she pressed on and found a rusted metal hatch. Inside were files stamped "classified." They detailed experiments with sound waves and mass psychological manipulation. A final note read, "Containment failed. Evacuate immediately." Before she could leave, the shadows surrounded her. Her phone camera captured one last image, the Ashburn sign, now pristine, with lights glowing faintly in the distance. Lila never returned, and her notes were wiped from the internet. Those who search for Ashburn claim to hear faint whispers calling them back, but no one who goes looking ever comes home. In 1998, a mysterious TV signal began interrupting late-night broadcasts in small towns across the Midwest. It showed a static-filled screen with a faint figure in the background and a distorted voice repeating, "Do you see me?" At first, it was dismissed as a prank, but the interruptions grew more frequent, always airing at exactly 2:13 a.m. People who watched the broadcast reported strange side effects, headaches, vivid nightmares, and a feeling of being watched. Some claimed the figure in the static was getting closer. One night, David, an insomniac, decided to record the broadcast. He watched as the static shifted, revealing a pale, hollow-eyed figure staring directly at him. The voice whispered, "I see you now." The next morning, David's neighbors found his TV on. The screen cracked. He was gone, with no signs of a struggle except for a single handprint burned into the carpet. After David's disappearance, the broadcast stopped. But conspiracy theorists claim it wasn't random. The towns where it aired have the highest rates of missing persons, and those who watched it still report seeing the figure in their dreams, whispering, "You're next." Some say the phantom broadcast was a failed government experiment in mind control. Others believe it was something far worse, reaching through the static to claim its victims. In a quiet town, people began vanishing without a trace. The only clue was a mysterious late-night radio signal. Between 3 and 4 a.m., it hijacked frequencies, playing distorted music, faint whispers, and ending with a countdown. Jake, a skeptic, decided to investigate. At 3:13 a.m., his old radio picked up the signal. A haunting melody played, layered with whispers he couldn't quite make out. Then the countdown began. 60, 59, 58. As it ticked down, the whispers grew louder, forming a voice, "We see you." When the countdown hit 0, Jake's lights flickered, and his computer screen filled with static. A message appeared. "You're marked." The next day, black SUVs appeared outside his house. Strangers in dark suits lingered, watching him. When Jake tried to share the recording, the file corrupted. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop listening." That night, the signal returned, blasting from his speakers, even with the radio off. The countdown began again. Jake unplugged everything, but the whispers grew deafening, and the voice said, "It's time." The next morning, Jake was gone. His apartment was empty, as if he'd never lived there. Conspiracy theorists claim the signal is a recruitment tool, or a beacon for something not of this world. Late at night, the whispers still drift through the airwaves, carrying a chilling warning, "We see you." Liam had lived in his apartment for 3 months before noticing the door. It was small, almost hidden, tucked behind a tall bookshelf in the living room. He was sure it hadn't been there before. Curiosity gnawed at him. One night, he moved the bookshelf aside and tried the handle. It was locked. A faint sound came from the other side, like whispers just out of reach. The next day, a key appeared on his kitchen counter. He didn't own a key like that, but it fit the lock perfectly. When Liam opened the door, he found a narrow staircase spiraling down into darkness. Against his better judgment, he descended. The air grew colder with every step, the whispers louder. At the bottom was a small, windowless room. In the center stood a single wooden chair, and on the walls were dozens of Polaroid photos. Liam's stomach turned as he recognized himself in every photo, sleeping, eating, walking to work. Some of the pictures were from angles that weren't possible inside his apartment. Suddenly, the door at the top of the stairs slammed shut. The whispers stopped. Liam ran up the stairs, but the door wouldn't budge. Behind him, the chair creaked. He He turned to see a figure sitting in it, its face shrouded in shadow. "You shouldn't have come here," it said in his own voice. The next morning, Liam's landlord found the apartment empty. The only thing left behind was the Polaroid camera, still warm to the touch. In a remote corner of Alaska, hikers often report a strange metal tower rising from the forest. It isn't marked on maps, and no one knows who built it. Locals call it the Signal Tower and warn travelers to stay away. A group of friends on a camping trip decided to investigate after hearing the stories. They found the tower at sunset, its rusted frame stretching high into the sky, topped with a blinking red light. Despite the eerie silence around it, no birds, no wind, they pressed on. At the base of the tower, they discovered strange carvings etched into the metal, spirals, geometric shapes, and symbols they couldn't decipher. One of them climbed the rickety ladder to the top, hoping to get a better view. Halfway up, he froze. "There's something up here," he whispered down. The others saw him stop moving, his head tilted as if listening. Then, without warning, he screamed and fell, landing lifeless at their feet. Panicked, the group tried to leave, but their phones and compasses stopped working. A deep, vibrating hum filled the air, and the blinking light atop the tower began flashing faster. One by one, they started hearing voices, faint at first, then louder. Each voice seemed to come from a loved one, calling for help. Against their will, they found themselves walking back toward the tower. By morning, the forest was empty, save for the tower, its light still blinking steadily. Locals say the tower broadcasts a signal no one can trace, and those who hear it never come back. But the real question remains, who or what is it calling? It started with an email. Amanda, a freelance journalist, received a message with no sender, just the subject line. "Do you want to know the truth?" Curious, she opened it. Inside was a link and a single phrase: "The Shadow Network is real." The link led to a dark website filled with grainy videos, leaked documents, and cryptic symbols. It claimed that a secret organization controlled everything: governments, corporations, even disasters. The deeper Amanda dove, the more unnerving it became. Names of missing people appeared in files, all listed under the ominous term, erased. Soon, strange things started happening. Her phone would light up with unknown numbers that hung up as soon as she answered. She noticed black SUVs parked near her apartment. One night, her laptop turned on by itself, the screen flashing the words, "Stop digging." But Amanda didn't stop. She downloaded files that hinted at experiments in mind control, weather manipulation, and mass surveillance. One document claimed, "The Shadow Network sees all. Once you've found them, they've already found you." The final straw came when she returned home to find her apartment ransacked. Her laptop and files were gone, but a single note was left on her desk: "You've been warned." Amanda tried to go public, but no one believed her. Her story was buried, her accounts frozen, her life dismantled piece by piece. One day, she vanished entirely. Conspiracy theorists now whisper about the Shadow Network and warn others. If you look for them, they'll make sure no one ever finds you.
In the early 2000s, whispers began about a strange broadcast on a little-known local station, Channel 27. The show, titled Happy Town Junction, was a low-budget children's program featuring puppets and cheerful songs. But one episode, known only as The Incident, was different. Viewers recalled the puppets moving awkwardly, their glassy eyes staring too long at the camera. The host, usually upbeat, spoke in a slow, monotone voice, reciting nonsensical phrases. Halfway through, the screen flickered, and the show cut to static. When the feed returned, the puppets were slumped over, and the host stood silently, staring at the camera. Then, in a distorted voice, the host whispered, "They're watching. Don't look away." The screen went black. Reports from viewers varied. Some felt dizzy or disoriented. Others claimed to hear faint whispers long after the episode ended. A few said they saw shadowy figures reflected in their screens. Channel 27 refused to comment, and the episode was never re-aired. One former employee claimed it wasn't part of the regular programming and blamed it on a rogue signal hijack. Others believed it was an experiment in subliminal messaging. No footage of Happy Town Junction has ever surfaced, but conspiracy theorists claim the broadcast was real. Those who dig too deeply into it report strange occurrences, untraceable calls, corrupted files, and TVs turning on by themselves, always to static. The last known words from the show still haunt those who remember. They're watching, don't look away.
Deep in the Sahara Desert, a blurry satellite image surfaced online, a massive, black pyramid buried beneath the sand. It wasn't on any map, and official records denied its existence. But conspiracy theorists were certain this was no ordinary structure. A group of explorers set out to find it, live streaming their journey. Days passed with nothing but endless dunes. Then the feed went silent. Hours later, it resumed briefly, showing a massive, obsidian-like pyramid rising from the sand, its surface smooth and impossibly dark. The camera panned shakily as the team entered. Inside, the walls were covered in strange symbols, glowing faintly. The explorers whispered nervously, describing a low hum that seemed to vibrate in their bones. One of them pointed out that their GPS had stopped working. Suddenly, the stream cut to black. No one heard from the team again. Days later, the video vanished from the internet, along with any mention of the pyramid. Those who shared it reported strange knocks at their doors late at night, or their devices mysteriously wiped clean. Some believe the pyramid is an ancient alien structure. Others say it's a government experiment buried in secrecy. But those who look for it often disappear, leaving only one chilling warning behind. Don't go near the Black Pyramid. It doesn't want to be found. Evan, an IT technician for a government contractor, stumbled upon a hidden folder labeled Project Erebos while fixing a server glitch. Inside were redacted documents, blurry photos, and one video file. It showed a figure strapped to a chair, screaming, with a voice off camera asking, "Have you seen the eyes?" Suddenly, his computer froze, and a message flashed, "This file is not for you." The next day, his badge stopped working, and coworkers avoided him. That night, Evan received a call from a distorted voice. "Delete everything. They're watching." Evan wiped his computer, but it was too late. Black SUVs parked near his house, and strangers stared at him in public. His accounts were frozen. One night, he found his laptop on with the Project Erebos folder open. A new file titled Evan appeared. He clicked it. It was a live feed of his bedroom. Behind him, the closet door creaked open. The next morning, Evan was gone. His apartment was empty, and his digital footprint erased. Conspiracy theorists say Project Erebos is a secret psychological experiment. But no one who finds the file ever survives.
In the early 2000s, whispers began about a strange broadcast on a little-known local station, Channel 27. The show, titled Happy Town Junction, was a low-budget children's program featuring puppets and cheerful songs. But one episode, known only as The Incident, was different. Viewers recalled the puppets moving awkwardly, their glassy eyes staring too long at the camera. The host, usually upbeat, spoke in a slow, monotone voice, reciting nonsensical phrases. Halfway through, the screen flickered, and the show cut to static. When the feed returned, the puppets were slumped over, and the host stood silently, staring at the camera. Then, in a distorted voice, the host whispered, "They're watching. Don't look away." The screen went black. Reports from viewers varied. Some felt dizzy or disoriented. Others claimed to hear faint whispers long after the episode ended. A few said they saw shadowy figures reflected in their screens. Channel 27 refused to comment, and the episode was never re-aired. One former employee claimed it wasn't part of the regular programming and blamed it on a rogue signal hijack. Others believed it was an experiment in subliminal messaging. No footage of Happy Town Junction has ever surfaced, but conspiracy theorists claim the broadcast was real. Those who dig too deeply into it report strange occurrences, untraceable calls, corrupted files, and TVs turning on by themselves, always to static. The last known words from the show still haunt those who remember. They're watching, don't look away.
What if I told you there's a ghostly tale that haunts the roads of Ghana? The Vanishing Hitchhiker is a chilling story of a young woman who appears on dark, lonely highways, seeking a ride. Drivers often pick her up, noticing her beautiful but sorrowful face. She asks to be taken to a specific location, but mysteriously vanishes from the car, leaving only a lingering coldness. This tale has origins in real events, as some believe she is the spirit of a woman who died tragically. Variations include different locations and reasons for her ghostly presence, but all share a common theme: vengeance for her untimely demise. Subscribe for more eerie tales from around the world. What if I told you there's a place in Kenya where the trees whisper? Known as the Whispering Forest, this eerie location is said to be haunted by spirits of those who met untimely ends. Originating from local folklore, travelers speak of hearing unearthly whispers that lure them deeper into the woods. Some say these voices belong to lost souls seeking help, while others believe they are warnings. The forest's dark history is tied to colonial-era atrocities, leaving a lingering energy that haunts the living. Locals advise against entering alone after dark, as many have vanished without a trace. If you dare, tread carefully. But remember, some whispers aren't meant to be answered. Subscribe for more chilling tales. What if I told you there exists a creature in South America known as the Pishtaco? This vampire-like being is said to roam the Andes, targeting unsuspecting travelers. Legends claim that the Pishtaco preys on the blood and fat of its victims, using their essence to gain power. Originating from indigenous folklore, the myth intensified during colonization, fueled by fears of exploitation and loss. Accounts vary, with some describing the Pishtaco as a tall, pale figure, while others depict it as a monstrous spirit. In real events, unexplained disappearances in remote areas have been linked to this eerie legend. Beware, for the Pishtaco may be watching you. Subscribe for more chilling tales. What if I told you about La Ciguanaba, a haunting figure from El Salvador? Legend speaks of a beautiful woman who lures men into the night, only to reveal her true form, a terrifying, skeletal visage. Originating from indigenous tales, her story warns against infidelity and irresponsible behavior. Variations suggest she preys on those who stray from their loved ones, seeking vengeance for a betrayal. Many claim to have encountered her ghostly form near rivers and dark roads, where she calls out to the unsuspecting. Her eerie laughter echoes through the night, leaving victims lost forever. Beware, for La Ciguanaba's beauty masks a deadly secret. Subscribe for more chilling tales. What if I told you that the Slender Man, an internet meme, transformed into a terrifying urban legend? Originating in 2009 on a forum, he was depicted as a tall, faceless figure haunting children. This fictional creation quickly morphed into something sinister. Variations of his story emerged, claiming he abducted children or drove them to madness. In 2014, the legend took a horrifying turn when two girls, influenced by the myth, attempted to murder a classmate to appease him. This chilling incident revealed how far the fan theory had penetrated young minds. The Slender Man serves as a reminder of how folklore can evolve and influence reality. Subscribe for more eerie tales. What if I told you the Red Room holds the darkest secrets of Hill House? This chilling space is a character all its own, adapting to the fears and desires of those who enter. Originating from the novel by Shirley Jackson, the Red Room symbolizes personal trauma and the ghosts of the past. Many believe it reflects the family's struggles, revealing their hidden terrors. Variations of the theory suggest it's a manifestation of grief or a portal to the afterlife, echoing real events of loss and mental illness. The unsettling atmosphere leaves viewers questioning reality itself. To uncover more mysteries, don't forget to subscribe for the latest theories that will haunt your thoughts. What if I told you there was a mysterious arcade game that could warp your mind? Enter Polybius, a game that supposedly emerged in the early 1980s in Portland, Oregon. According to urban legend, this enigmatic game was said to induce seizures, nightmares, and even madness in those who played it. Gamers reported vivid hallucinations and psychological changes. Some claimed it was a government experiment designed to test mind control techniques on unsuspecting children. The origins of Polybius are shrouded in mystery, with no concrete evidence of its existence, leading many to speculate if it was merely a myth. Could it be that some games are better left unplayed? Subscribe for more eerie tales like this one. If you see strange lights at night in the Ural Mountains, just run. In 1959, a group of 9 experienced hikers mysteriously perished at Dyatlov Pass. Their tent was found cut open from the inside, and the hikers fled into the freezing wilderness without adequate clothing. Some had bizarre injuries. One victim had a missing tongue, while others displayed inexplicable trauma, resembling a car crash but without external wounds. Rumors of secret military tests or Yeti encounters have fueled speculation. This chilling event remains unsolved, with theories ranging from aliens to government cover-ups. What truly happened that fateful night? Subscribe for more eerie stories. If you see the other mother at night in your dreams, just run. This character, with her button eyes and sinister smile, is rooted in deeper horrors than her whimsical appearance suggests. The theory posits that she represents a dark manifestation of parental neglect and abandonment. Originating from Neil Gaiman's novella, The Other Mother is a twisted reflection of Coraline's real mother, who is overwhelmed and inattentive. Variations of this theory explore the unsettling idea that she lures children into a false paradise to feed on their souls, a grim echo of real-life stories of child exploitation. The haunting visuals and chilling essence of The Other Mother remind us of the dark corners of our own realities. Subscribe for more eerie tales. If you see a familiar yellow sponge at night in a dark ocean, just run. There's a terrifying theory that suggests Bikini Bottom is an underwater post-apocalyptic world. This theory originated from fans piecing together the bizarre and often surreal elements of the show. The colorful sea creatures and whimsical settings hide a grim reality, hinting at the aftermath of nuclear war. The characters might represent the remnants of humanity, coping with their tragic fate. Variations of the theory explore the idea that the ocean is a graveyard, with the cheerful facade masking deep sorrow. Dive deep into this chilling narrative. Subscribe for more eerie tales. If you see a shadowy figure at night in Arendelle, just run. The chilling theory surrounding Disney's Frozen suggests that Elsa and Anna's parents are part of a darker narrative than viewers realize. Legend has it that their ship sank in a storm, but some fans believe they did not perish. Instead, they were victims of a sinister plot to hide a dark secret about their royal lineage. This theory connects to real events, such as maritime tragedies and royal betrayals throughout history. The chilling implications suggest that their disappearance was orchestrated to eliminate a threat to the kingdom. As layers of this haunting tale unfold, one wonders what else lies beneath the surface. Subscribe for more chilling theories. What if all you know about summoning spirits was a lie? The Midnight Game is a chilling ritual that beckons dark entities into your home. Originating from ancient pagan practices, this game requires participants to light a candle, write their name on paper, and run from a malevolent spirit. The game starts at midnight, where players must evade the spirit for 3 hours, or face horrifying consequences. Variations of the game exist, with some claiming it's a test of bravery. Real events have fueled its fearsome reputation, leading to stories of players experiencing terrifying hauntings. Dare to play? Remember, once invited, these spirits may never leave. Subscribe for more chilling tales. What if all you know about reality was a lie? The Mandela effect suggests that countless people share false memories of events, characters, and pop culture moments. Originating from Nelson Mandela's death, which many recalled occurring in the 1980s, the effect raises chilling questions about our perception of reality. Variations include misremembered movie quotes like, "Luke, I am your father," and the Berenstain Bears confusion. Some believe these discrepancies hint at alternate dimensions or time travel. Others argue it's a mass psychological phenomenon. Real-life tragedies, like the loss of the Titanic, may also feed this eerie narrative. Are we living in a simulation? Subscribe for more chilling tales. What if all you know about the Blair Witch Project was a lie? The film, released in 1999, captivated audiences with its raw, found footage style. But its origins delve into unsettling real-life events. The myth of the Blair Witch traces back to the 18th century, inspired by tales of a woman accused of witchcraft in Burkittsville, Maryland. Locals claimed she cursed the forest, leading to eerie disappearances. In the film, 3 filmmakers vanish, echoing these stories. The chilling ambiguity between fact and fiction made viewers question reality. The filmmakers capitalized on local legends, blurring lines that still haunt fans today. Subscribe for more spine-chilling tales. What if I told you about a house no one escapes alive? In Hunter x Hunter, the Zoldyck family mansion looms atop Kukuru Mountain, guarded by deadly beasts and electrified gates. Home to the world's most feared assassins, the mansion is said to hide unspeakable horrors within its walls. Though fictional, fans wonder, could the Zoldyck legend be inspired by real tales of isolated clans and their deadly secrets? Subscribe for more stories that blur the line between fiction and reality. What if a whistle meant your doom? In Venezuela and Colombia, the chilling legend of El Silbón has terrified generations. Cursed to wander the earth for murdering his father, El Silbón carries a sack of bones and haunts the night. His whistle deceives, sounding distant when he's close and near when he's far. He preys on drunks, womanizers, or those who linger outside late at night. Victims often turn up dead, drained of blood, with no sign of struggle. Some say he's a warning to live a virtuous life, while others claim to have heard his eerie whistle in the still of the night. Would you recognize the sound before it's too late? What if everything you knew about Poltergeist was a lie? The iconic 1982 film Poltergeist isn't just famous for its chilling storyline. It's also surrounded by one of Hollywood's most enduring legends, the so-called Poltergeist curse. It all began with a controversial decision during production, using real human skeletons to make the movie feel more authentic. This unsettling choice sparked rumors of a curse that seemed to follow the cast and crew. Over the years, some key cast members faced strange and unexpected events in their lives, fueling the speculation that something eerie might have been at play. Fans have long debated whether the film's dark themes somehow bled into reality, creating an air of mystery that lingers to this day. Could it all just be a coincidence? Or is there more to this chilling tale? What if all you know about the Hope Diamond was a lie? This stunning gem, known for its deep blue hue, is rumored to bring misfortune and tragedy to its owners. The tale begins with its origins in India, where it was stolen from a Hindu temple, said to belong to a goddess. This act of theft set off a chain of calamities. Owners faced mysterious deaths, madness, and financial ruin. King Louis XVI and his family were not spared. Their fates ended in execution. Variations of the story suggest the diamond carries a curse, punishing those who possess it. Many believe the jewel is still cursed today, haunting its current owner. Could it be that the legend holds a sinister truth? Subscribe for more chilling stories. What if the truth behind the dancing plague of 1518 is more terrifying than you've ever imagined? It was a hot summer in Strasbourg, France, when an inexplicable phenomenon took hold of the town. A woman named Frau Trophea began dancing in the streets, without music, without stopping. Days passed, and her movements grew frantic, her feet bleeding, yet she couldn't stop. Soon, dozens of others joined her. Men, women, and children danced uncontrollably, their bodies convulsing in rhythm to an invisible beat. Within a month, the number of dancers had swelled to over 400. Some collapsed from exhaustion. Others suffered heart attacks or strokes. But why? Theories abound. Was it ergot poisoning, a hallucinogenic mold on bread that induced hysteria? Or a mass psychogenic illness fueled by stress and superstition? But some accounts suggest something far darker. Witnesses claimed to see shadowy figures lurking near the dancers, figures that seemed to move in unison with them, pulling their strings like puppeteers. Others whispered that the dancers' eyes were vacant, as if their souls were no longer their own. Some priests believed it was divine punishment, while others feared it was the work of the devil himself. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the dancing stopped, leaving only lifeless bodies and unanswered questions. What really happened in 1518? Was it a plague, a curse, Or something even more sinister? Something that still lingers, waiting to strike again? Want more chilling mysteries from the past? Subscribe for stories that will haunt your nights. In 1872, the Mary Celeste was found drifting aimlessly in the Atlantic Ocean, its sails tattered but intact. The ship was eerily silent, the crew nowhere to be found. A half-eaten meal sat abandoned on the captain's table, and the ship's lifeboat was missing. Yet, there were no signs of a struggle. No blood, no damage, nothing to explain the vanishing. Speculation ran wild. Pirates? Mutiny? A deadly storm? But the more investigators looked, the stranger the mystery became. Personal belongings were untouched, and the ship's cargo was undisturbed. Some sailors who later boarded the Mary Celeste claimed they felt an oppressive presence, as if the ship itself was alive and watching. Legends whispered that the ship had been cursed long before that doomed voyage. Others claimed ghostly figures were seen on deck at night, and some even believed the crew had been lured away by phantom lights on the water. Whatever happened, the Mary Celeste's empty decks remain a haunting enigma. What secrets do the waves keep hidden? Subscribe for more chilling mysteries of the deep. What if all you know about the Conjuring House was a lie? Originating from real-life events in the 1970s, this infamous location is steeped in horror. The Perron family who moved in experienced unexplained phenomena, whispers, cold spots, and ghostly apparitions. Ed and Lorraine Warren, renowned paranormal investigators, were called to help. They claimed the house was haunted by a witch named Bathsheba Sherman, who once lived there and cursed anyone who dared to take her land. The family's terrifying encounters inspired chilling tales, blurring reality and fiction. Are the Warrens' claims fabricated? Or is something sinister lurking within those walls? Subscribe for more eerie stories.
Sarah moved into a new apartment, delighted at the cheap rent and central location. The landlord had only one rule: never open the door to the locked room at the end of the hall. Sarah agreed, but her curiosity gnawed at her. One night, she found the key under the kitchen sink. She hesitated, then slid it into the lock. The door creaked open, revealing an empty, windowless room, or so she thought. Shadows seemed to gather in the corners, and as she stepped in, the door slammed shut behind her. Her screams echoed through the building. The next tenant was told the same rule and never questioned why the rent was so low. Kevin hated the old house his family had moved into. It was drafty, the floors creaked, and the air vents made strange noises. At night, he'd hear scratching and whispers coming from them. His parents blamed raccoons. One night, the whispering turned into words, "Let me out." Kevin, thinking it was a prank, peered into the vent with a flashlight. Two glowing eyes stared back. Before he could scream, a hand shot out, dragging him into the darkness. His parents found the vent cover torn off and Kevin's room empty. They never heard whispers again, but the scratching continued. Emma's birthday began with excitement, her friends surrounding her as she tore open presents. Among the colorful wrapping was a small porcelain doll with glassy eyes that seemed to follow her every move. Initially charmed, Emma soon found the doll unsettling. Its gaze felt too intense, almost alive. She named her Clara and placed her on the shelf where Clara could oversee the room. That night, Emma awoke to a soft thudding sound. The doll had shifted a few inches on the shelf, its head turned slightly as if watching her sleep. Dismissing it as a trick of the light, she fell back asleep. But the thumping returned each night, growing louder, an insistent reminder of the eyes that seemed to know her secrets. One evening, she caught a glimpse of Clara's reflection in the glass. The doll's smile appeared wider, almost mocking. Fear gnawed at Emma, yet she couldn't bring herself to part with Clara. On the final night, she woke to find Clara sitting on her bed, eyes wide and empty. In a panic, Emma grabbed the doll, throwing it into the closet. The next morning, she discovered her parents were gone, leaving nothing but a note saying they could no longer watch her. Clara was now free, her watchful eyes finally without human restraint. In the center of the park stood an ancient tree that locals claimed could speak. At night, children dared each other to approach it. When Lucy leaned in close, she heard faint whispers promising to grant her deepest wish. She wished for her brother, lost in a tragic accident, to return. The next morning, he stood at her door, but something was wrong. His eyes were empty, his movements jerky. That night, the tree whispered again, demanding payment for its gift. Lucy's screams echoed through the park as the tree's roots pulled her beneath the soil. The locals knew better than to approach the decaying tree at the edge of town. Rumors swirled about what happened to those who ventured too close. Last year, a boy named Sam disappeared after chasing a squirrel into the thick, gnarled roots. It was said the tree whispered his name on the wind. One cold evening, driven by curiosity and the thrill of danger, Maya and her friends gathered their courage to investigate. They huddled together as they approached the tree, its bark twisted and dark, like a mouth ready to swallow them whole. A faint rustling came from within, a sound like a child's laughter, echoing through the stillness. Against her better judgment, Mia reached out and touched the rough surface. The laughter turned to a shriek, sharp and piercing. The tree quivered, and a hollow crevice opened, revealing a dark void. Mia peered in, her heart racing. Suddenly, skeletal hands reached out, grasping her wrist. She screamed, but no one could hear. As darkness swallowed her, she realized the truth. The tree was hungry, and now it had claimed her. The friends ran, but no one would ever find Mia again, just as no one had found Sam. Deep in the Appalachian Mountains, there's a stretch of forest where people vanish. Locals call it the Hungry Forest. Legends speak of ancient spirits that feed on those who wander too far off the paths. Lila and her friends went camping there, scoffing at the warnings. On the second night, they heard the trees creak and groan like they were alive. Lila awoke to find her friends gone and strange symbols carved into the ground around her tent. The whispers in the wind grew louder, urging her deeper into the woods. Her last journal entry, found weeks later, simply read, "The forest is starving." In the village of Eldergrove, a thick, shimmering mist rolled in one fateful evening, swallowing homes and streets in its eerie embrace. The villagers, accustomed to its whispers, dared not venture outside. But as dusk fell, a group of children, drawn by a strange allure, crept into the fog. They giggled, unaware of the shadows lurking beneath. As they wandered deeper, the laughter faded, replaced by a soft, haunting melody that seemed to beckon them onward. Suddenly, the mist parted, revealing an ancient well. Its stones, slick with moisture, glistened under the faint light. One child, a girl named Clara, felt an inexplicable urge to peer inside. The moment she leaned over, the melody intensified, transforming into anguished cries. Startled, her friends rushed to her side, but the well had begun to pulsate, the fog swirling faster around them. As they stumbled back, Clara's eyes widened in horror. From the depths, ghostly figures emerged, their faces twisted in despair. They were the lost villagers, trapped for generations, their secrets now laid bare. The children screamed, but the mist thickened, sealing their fate. Eldergrove would never forget that night, where the past clawed its way back, forever entwined with the living. Lena inherited her grandmother's old house, a crumbling relic in a forgotten part of town. As she stepped inside, the air felt thick and heavy, laden with lingering memories. The walls whispered softly, a constant murmur that seemed to weave through the very fabric of the house. At first, she dismissed it as the sound of the wind, but as night descended, the whispers grew clearer, forming words she couldn't quite catch. Curiosity turned to dread when she began to hear her name, drawn out in a breathy, pleading tone. "Lena," it beckoned, echoing through the dimly lit rooms. She followed the sound, heart racing, to a locked door at the end of a narrow hallway. The whispers escalated into frantic cries. With trembling hands, she forced the door open, revealing a dusty nursery filled with forgotten toys. The air turned icy, and the whispers stopped abruptly. In the silence, she spotted a small figure in the corner. A girl, pale and hollow-eyed, stared back at her. "Help me," she rasped. Lena reached out, but as her fingers brushed the girl's hand, the figure vanished, leaving only a fading whisper. "You should never have come here." The walls resumed their murmurs, now laughing, as Lena realized she was never truly alone.
What if I told you the word abracadabra wasn't just a magician's trick, but an ancient spell tied to forces we barely understand? A word whispered through centuries, carrying a power both feared and revered. Its origins are cloaked in mystery. Some believe it comes from the Aramaic phrase, "I create as I speak," spoken to invoke creation or destruction. Others link it to Abraxas, a name tied to ancient demons and forbidden secrets. In the 2nd century, Roman healers used it in rituals to banish sickness. They wrote it in a triangular pattern, the letters vanishing line by line, as if erasing a curse, or calling something darker into being. But what if abracadabra was never meant for healing? What if its true purpose was to summon forces lurking in the shadows, waiting to answer when we speak its name? If this sends chills down your spine, subscribe now and join us as we explore more tales of the unknown.
In the center of a sleepy village, there was a well said to be cursed. Long ago, it was used to drown those accused of witchcraft. The townsfolk warned against going near it, but Kyle, ever the skeptic, decided to investigate. He lowered a flashlight into the well, peering down. He swore he saw movement, a pale hand reaching up. Before he could react, he was yanked inside. The villagers heard his screams echo through the night. The next day, the well was dry, and Kyle's name was etched into the stone. When the Thompson family moved into Willow Lane, they were greeted by an unsettling silence. The houses around them, once lively with laughter and chatter, now stood eerily still. Days turned into weeks, and the Thompsons noticed something strange. Not a single neighbor ever ventured outside. Curious yet unnerved, they peered through their windows, hoping to glimpse their silent neighbors. Yet each time the curtains remained drawn. One evening, as shadows lengthened, a distant scream echoed through the night, chilling their bones. The next morning, the Thompsons learned from the local storekeeper that the entire block had been abandoned for years. Confused, they rushed home, only to find their front door ajar. Inside, the air was thick with dread. Their belongings were untouched, but the house trembled with an unearthly presence. Suddenly, a shuffling sound emerged from the basement. Heart pounding, they crept down the stairs, flashlight shaking in hand. What they found was a room filled with lifeless bodies, their faces frozen in terror. It became clear. The neighbors hadn't just disappeared, they had been taken. And as they turned to escape, the door slammed shut behind them, sealing their fate. There's a serene lake deep in the woods that's said to be cursed. The locals warn that anyone who swims in it disappears. Fiona didn't believe the stories and decided to take a dip on a dare. As she swam, the water grew colder, and the surface began to ripple unnaturally. She felt hands grasping her legs, pulling her under. Her friends heard her screams but saw nothing except bubbles rising to the surface. The next morning, the lake was perfectly still, but Fiona's face stared back at them from beneath the water. The Parkers were thrilled to move to Silent Grove, a small, peaceful neighborhood surrounded by towering trees. The homes were beautiful, each one with a cozy front porch and neat yard. But from the first day, something felt wrong. The neighbors never appeared. Not once did anyone walk their dog, trim their hedges, or even step out to get the mail. The Parkers tried to make sense of it, chalking it up to the small-town tranquility, but the stillness began to feel oppressive. One evening, as dusk settled in, the wind carried a strange sound, a low, rhythmic thumping, like something heavy being dragged across the ground. The Parkers thought it came from the house next door and decided to investigate. The door was ajar. They hesitated, then stepped inside. The house was cold, unnaturally so. The furniture was covered in dust, and the air felt stale. The thumping sound grew louder as they moved deeper into the house, leading them to the basement door. With a sense of dread, they opened it. In the basement, a dim light flickered. The walls were lined with strange symbols, and in the center of the room were rows of wooden chairs. Sitting in each chair was a figure, lifeless but somehow aware, their eyes wide open, staring at the Parkers. Suddenly, the basement door slammed shut and the room fell silent. The Parkers turned, but it was too late. Their reflection in the basement mirror was no longer their own. It was the face of a stranger. Silent Grove had claimed them. The Mitchells were excited to move into their new home on Hawthorne Hill, a quiet street with old Victorian houses. The neighborhood looked perfect, peaceful, and secluded, but something felt off from the start. The streets were eerily empty. The neighbors' houses were well kept, yet no one was ever seen outside. The Mitchells thought it was odd, but dismissed it, until one evening when they noticed a faint glow from the house next door. Curious, they approached and found the door slightly open. Inside, the house was cold and silent. Dust covered every surface, but the furniture looked untouched. A grandfather clock ticked louder than it should have, and the stillness felt unnatural. The Mitchells felt a strange pull toward the basement. As they descended the stairs, the dim light revealed old photographs on the walls, each face blurred, as if erased. The basement door slammed shut behind them. Suddenly, a whisper filled the air. "You're not supposed to be here." Before they could react, the walls seemed to close in. The Mitchells tried to scream, but their voices were swallowed by the house. It dawned on them. They hadn't moved into a quiet neighborhood. They had moved into a place where time had stopped, and the residents had vanished, leaving only their memories behind. And now, the Mitchells had joined them, trapped in the house on Hawthorne Hill. When Sam moved into his fixer-upper, he noticed odd things. Creaks in the ceiling, missing food, faint footsteps at night. He chalked it up to the house settling. But one evening, he found a handwritten note on his nightstand that read, "Thank you for letting me stay." Terrified, Sam searched the attic and found a makeshift bed and discarded wrappers. He moved out the next day, but not before installing a hidden camera. Reviewing the footage, he saw a gaunt figure staring down at him through the attic door, smiling. When Anna moved into her new apartment, she discovered a large walk-in closet. But no matter how much she put inside, it never filled. Curious, she stepped deeper in and found it stretched endlessly, its walls lined with unfamiliar clothes. She tried to turn back but couldn't find the entrance. The farther she walked, the darker it became. Then she heard the faint rustling of fabric, followed by a voice whispering her name. Weeks later, her landlord opened the closet to find it empty, except for a single shoe and her phone playing a faint recording. "Help me." Matt's hotel room was ordinary at first, a bland bed, beige walls, a small TV. But as the night progressed, the layout seemed to shift. The bed moved closer to the door, the wallpaper patterns changed, and the TV displayed static faces that whispered his name. He tried leaving, but the door led back into the room. Panicking, Matt smashed the window only to find another wall behind it. By morning, the room was empty, and the hotel staff swore it had never existed. In a forgotten antique shop, Maria found a candle said to grant wishes. Intrigued, she lit it and wished for wealth. The next day, she found money in her bank account, far more than she'd ever had. But the candle didn't extinguish. Her second wish, for love, came true when a charming stranger appeared in her life. Still, the candle burned. On her third wish, for eternal youth, Maria noticed her reflection growing paler, her shadow vanishing. By the time the candle burned out, Maria was gone, her essence absorbed by the flame, leaving only the unlit candle behind for the next victim. As night draped the town in darkness, a group of friends ventured into the woods, drawn by an ancient legend of a tomb hidden beneath the roots of an ancient oak. The air thickened with apprehension, but curiosity propelled them forward. They stumbled upon the crumbling entrance, half-buried and overgrown, a threshold to another time. A faint whisper echoed within, beckoning them to enter. Each step inside felt wrong, like the tomb itself was alive, breathing with secrets long forgotten. The deeper they went, the more palpable the whispers became, swirling around them like a dark wind. Shadows danced on the walls, twisted faces forming in the stone. Suddenly, one friend, Sarah, stopped, her eyes glazed over, entranced by the darkness. "Listen," she breathed, as if she could hear something they couldn't. The others pulled her back, but she was already slipping away, drawn into the abyss. They tried to escape, but the whispers grew louder, drowning out their cries. In a final desperate act, they fled, leaving Sarah behind. As they burst into the night, the whispers faded, replaced by an eerie silence. Days later, Sarah's name was found carved into the trunk of the ancient oak, her fate sealed in the darkness, a warning for those who dared to follow the whispers of the tomb. The Carsons were eager to start fresh on Elm Street, a quiet, tree-lined road in a small town. Their new house, a charming two-story, seemed perfect, tucked away from the bustle of city life. But as soon as they arrived, they noticed something strange. The street was silent. Not a single neighbor was seen outside. The houses around them were immaculate, yet there was an unsettling stillness in the air. No dogs barking, no children playing, just a thick silence hanging over everything. As the days passed, the Carsons grew more uneasy. One evening, they saw movement through the curtains of the house across the street. a shadow darting past the window. They watched, but no one came out. Driven by a growing sense of curiosity, they decided to visit the house. The door creaked open when they tried it, and the air inside was damp and cold. The rooms were perfectly arranged, but everything felt wrong. Stale, like the house had been abandoned for years. The basement door was slightly ajar. The Carsons descended, their hearts pounding, and found a strange room with rows of empty chairs. In each chair, an outline was visible, as if someone had recently sat there. The air grew heavier, and as they turned to leave, a voice whispered from the shadows, "Stay with us." The door slammed shut behind them. The Carsons' reflection in the dusty mirror wasn't their own. It was a face they didn't recognize. Elm Street had claimed them, and they were now part of the shadows that haunted it. The Miller family was excited to move into their new home on Pine Ridge. The house was charming, tucked away at the edge of the woods, with a spacious yard and friendly neighbors. At least, that's what they thought. From the moment they arrived, an odd quietness lingered in the air. The neighbors' homes were pristine, but no one was ever outside. No cars in driveways, no sounds of life, just stillness. Days turned into weeks, and the Millers began to feel like they were being watched. But every time they looked outside, the streets were empty. One night, as the wind howled through the trees, a soft, distant whisper caught their attention. The Millers couldn't pinpoint where it was coming from, but the voice was unmistakable. "Help us." The sound echoed from all directions, sending chills down their spines. Compelled by fear and curiosity, they ventured to the house next door, the only one that seemed different. Its front door was slightly ajar. As they stepped inside, a cold draft rushed past them, and the door slammed shut behind them. The house was eerily dark, with dust coating the furniture. They moved toward the basement, where the whispers grew louder. At the bottom of the stairs, they found a room filled with old, decaying figures, their eyes wide with terror, as if frozen in time. In the center of the room was a mirror, reflecting not their own faces, but the faces of the long-gone neighbors. As the Millers turned to flee, the whispers turned to screams. Too late. The door locked behind them, and Pine Ridge claimed another family. In the dim light of her grandmother's attic, Sarah discovered an ornate music box, its surface dust-coated and forgotten. She felt an irresistible urge to wind it up. As the delicate mechanism clicked, a haunting melody filled the air, echoing through the empty house. An eerie chill swept over her, and shadows danced along the walls. The music played on, growing louder, wrapping around her like a shroud. As the last notes faded, Sarah thought she heard a whisper, soft and sorrowful. "Help me." Heart racing, she searched the attic for the source. It was then she noticed a faded portrait of a woman resembling her grandmother, eyes hollow with despair. The whispers intensified, now a cacophony, each one pleading for release. Frozen in fear, Sarah felt a sudden gust of wind. The attic window flung open, sending her tumbling backward. The music box rattled violently. In that moment, a figure emerged, a specter of the woman from the portrait, her face twisted in rage and sorrow. "You woke me," she screamed. The melody resumed, but this time it was a dirge, drowning out Sarah's screams, sealing her fate as the next keeper of the cursed tune. Every evening, thick fog rolled through the town, but one night it was different. Emma noticed a figure standing motionless outside her window, barely visible through the mist. Thinking it was a trick of the light, she went to bed. But the next night, the figure was closer. On the third night, it stood at her front door, its outline more distinct, a tall man with no face. Emma called the police, but they found nothing. The following morning, Emma's bed was empty, her room filled with an eerie, lingering mist. It started when Mallory bought the antique mirror at a garage sale. It was tall, gilded, and seemed to shimmer even in the dimmest light. That first night, she noticed movement in the reflection. Just a flicker, she told herself, probably her tired eyes playing tricks. But by the second night, it was unmistakable. A figure, just beyond the frame, watching. Mallory tried covering the mirror, but the shadowy figure seeped through the edges of the cloth. One night, she awoke to the sound of whispers and found the mirror uncovered, the figure now closer, almost stepping out. Her own reflection was gone. The next morning, Mallory disappeared, leaving the mirror behind. The next family who purchased it found her shadow staring back at them.
What if I told you about the Tokoloshi, a notorious creature from South African folklore? This mischievous spirit is said to be a small, hairy humanoid, often described as having a huge head and glowing red eyes. Originating from Zulu mythology, the Tokoloshi is believed to crawl into the beds of unsuspecting victims, causing nightmares and sometimes even death. Its lore varies, with some tales saying it can be summoned by witches, or that it can be controlled with a wooden peg placed under the bed. In reality, the Tokoloshi reflects deep-seated fears in society, often intertwined with real events of unexplained misfortune. Could it be that the Tokoloshi truly lingers in the shadows? Subscribe for more haunting tales.
Ben found an old radio in his attic, still functional despite its age. Late at night, it would turn on by itself, emitting static. One night, through the white noise, he heard his deceased mother's voice calling his name. He tried speaking back, and the voice grew clearer, begging for help and warning him to leave the house. Ignoring the warning, Ben listened for hours. The next morning, the radio was gone, and so was Ben. All that remained was static echoing through the house. The night was still, as Clara knelt before the weathered tombstone, her breath visible in the chill. It had been years since she visited her grandmother's grave, but the locals whispered of strange happenings in the cemetery. They said it was haunted, cursed even, but Clara dismissed those tales as mere folklore. Tonight was different. She had come to perform the last rites, to seek closure. As she recited the words, an unnerving wind swept through the trees, rustling the leaves like whispers. Suddenly, she felt a presence, cold and watching. The air thickened and her heart raced. Clara glanced up, startled to see shadows shifting among the graves, figures cloaked in darkness, with hollow eyes fixed on her. Panic surged within her. She hurried to finish the rites, but the shadows drew closer, their outlines now distinct. A voice, raspy and echoing, called her name. "You shouldn't have come here," it warned. Clara's hands trembled as she completed the incantation, but it felt futile. The last words echoed, and the shadows lunged, pulling her into the earth. As silence fell, the grave stood unmarked, yet a new figure loomed, waiting for the next visit, for the next last rites. The Tanners had always dreamed of a quiet life, so when they found a charming cottage on Ashwood Lane, they were thrilled. The street was lined with tall trees, and the houses seemed to glow warmly under the setting sun. But the moment they moved in, something felt wrong. The neighbors' homes looked perfect, yet no one ever appeared outside. The street was always silent, with not a sound to be heard, not even the rustle of leaves in the breeze. The Tanners assumed it was just a peaceful area, but as days went by, their unease grew. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the Tanners noticed a light flickering in the house across the street. They walked over, drawn by curiosity, and found the front door slightly ajar. Stepping inside, they felt an immediate coldness, as if the house itself was holding its breath. The living room was meticulously clean, but it felt like no one had lived there for years. The only sound was the faint ticking of a clock, its hands frozen in time. As they explored, they found a door leading to the basement. The stairs creaked underfoot as they descended. In the basement, they found a small, dimly lit room with a single chair in the center. Scattered around it were old, faded photographs, each one depicting a smiling family member, but their faces were scratched out. The Tanners turned to leave, but the door slammed shut. A whisper filled the room, "Stay with us." The Tanners tried to scream, but their voices were lost in the silence. The house had claimed them, and Ashwood Lane would never be the same again. It appeared overnight, a carnival on the edge of town that no one remembered arriving. Bright lights and haunting music lured in visitors. Amy and her friends decided to explore it, excited by the strange rides and games. But as the night went on, they realized something was wrong. The rides operated without attendants, the food tasted like ash, and the other patrons had hollow, glowing eyes. Amy tried to leave, but every exit led her back to the carousel. Her friends vanished one by one, their laughter replaced by screams. The next day, the carnival was gone, leaving only Amy's shoe in the empty field. The old factory had been abandoned for decades, its shadows thick with dust and memories. When Mia stumbled upon a half-hidden entrance in the ground, curiosity pulled her in. The air was cool and stale, thick with an unsettling silence. As she ventured deep, the faint sound of dripping echoed in the distance. Her flashlight flickered, casting eerie shapes on the crumbling walls. Each step seemed to provoke the darkness, filling her with a sense of dread. Suddenly, the echoes began to shift, whispers that felt almost familiar, as if someone was calling her name. "Mia, come closer." Heart racing, she pressed on, convinced it was her brother, lost in the depths years ago. The voices grew louder, more insistent, leading her down a narrow passage. She called out, but her words swallowed by the darkness. At last, she reached a small chamber, and the whispers stopped. A chill ran down her spine as she realized she wasn't alone. Shadows writhed along the walls, forming the shape of her brother, eyes hollow and pleading. But as she reached out, a cold hand gripped her ankle, pulling her down into the abyss where the echoes now belonged to her. When the Hargraves moved to Maple Street, they expected a peaceful life. The neighborhood was quiet, with perfectly manicured homes and neat gardens. Yet something was off. No sounds of children playing, no neighbors chatting, just a deep, unnerving silence. Days passed, and the Hargraves noticed that no one ever ventured outside. The curtains in every house remained drawn, and the streets stayed empty. Curiosity turned to unease as they realized they never saw a single neighbor. One evening, a low hum filled the air, coming from the house at the end of the street. The Hargraves, compelled by an odd pull, approached. The door creaked open when they tried it, and inside, the air was heavy, stagnant. The walls were lined with photos, but every face was blurred, erased from existence. A sound emerged from the basement, a slow, rhythmic thumping. Against their better judgment, they descended the stairs. In the dim light, they saw rows of empty chairs, all facing a broken TV screen. The screen flickered, displaying one word, "Watch." The truth hit them all at once. The neighbors hadn't left. They had been replaced. Their memories, their lives, all absorbed by something darker. As the Hargraves turned to flee, the basement door slammed shut. The word flashed again on the screen, "Watch," and the hollow residents of Maple Street waited. In the dim light of her attic, Sarah discovered an ornate, locked box, its surface etched with intricate symbols that seemed to writhe under her gaze. The key was nowhere in sight, yet a whispering urge gripped her heart. She could feel a presence, an awareness that something was waiting just beneath the surface. Ignoring her better judgment, she pried it open with a crowbar, the metal screeching in protest. As the lid creaked ajar, an icy gust swept through the room, snuffing out her lantern and plunging her into darkness. A rush of shadows coiled around her ankles, seeping from the box, forming grotesque shapes that danced menacingly. Panic surged within her. The air became thick with a suffocating dread. Then, from the depths of the box, a voice croaked, low and raspy, "You've let me out." Heart pounding, she stumbled backward, the realization dawning. The box contained not treasure, but a malevolence she had unleashed. The shadows lunged, coiling tightly around her, and in a twisted final moment, her scream echoed, swallowed by the consuming dark. The box slammed shut, waiting, once again, for the next curious soul. Emily found the amulet buried in the garden, its surface shimmering with an otherworldly glow. Intrigued, she slipped it around her neck, unaware of its sinister history. A whisper echoed in her mind, promising a wish for every thought. Skeptical yet curious, Emily closed her eyes and wished for her ailing mother to recover. The next morning, her mother appeared vibrant and healthy, a joy that quickly turned to dread as the amulet pulsed against her chest. Days passed, each wish granted, a promotion, newfound beauty, even the return of lost friends. But with every wish, something was stolen from her. An old photograph of her mother, the laughter of her friends, the spark in her own eyes dimming. Desperate, Emily wished to understand the amulet's true nature. Nightmares invaded her sleep, visions of shadowy figures and anguished screams revealing the truth. The amulet was a parasite, feeding on memories, twisting love into torment. In a final bid for freedom, Emily wished to destroy it. The amulet shattered, but its shards embedded in her skin, merging with her forever.